All right, hello, hi everyone. Long time no see. It's been since we we played chapter 2 that we've gotten together and done one of these things, and a lot of stuff has changed since then. So, for anybody who's new here, hi, my name is Michi, Twisted Disaster. I am here with my best buddies, Morgan, the Zodiac Lord, and then Ken, Little Box of Horrors, because I always forget your username now since you changed it. Um,
Mhm.
but we're going to be talking about DeltaRune today and DeltaRune theories. So that being said, we're going to be talking about theories and we're going to be talking about chapters 1 through 4, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is also done more as a rambly podcast type style thing. So please let us know down below what you think of it. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, and we're just going to be rambling off at the start. Yeah. So I guess we should start off with we have all three had very different experiences with playing chapters 3 and 4 this time around. Does anybody want to start?
Yeah, 'cause we didn't play it together this time. Um, but yeah. Uh, I guess I'll start off by saying whenever chapter 3 starts, uh, the whole 3D thing I was not expecting. And
Ugh.
Morgan, I agree with you about what you said about it, about being like, no fucking wonder it took him 2 years to make
Oh yeah,
this
no.
chapter.
Oh yeah.
The second
I
we saw Tenna, I kind of lost it. I was like, "What
I
is
lost my mind because I
this?"
was just I was the one who I guess I reached it first, I think. I don't know,
Yeah,
out
you
of the
did.
three of us. But I was telling everyone I was telling, I was just like, I won't spoil anything about chapter three. I'm not like that. But I was just saying, like, all I know is that once you get there, you just hit a certain point where you're like, ah, this is why it took it 6 years, huh? That's why it took us so long, huh? And
Has it really wait. Has it really been 6 years since
I'm
chapter
pretty sure
2?
it's been
Since
6 years, something
no,
like that.
since chapter 1 has been
Okay,
released,
okay.
it
That
has
makes
been
sense.
6
Okay,
years.
that makes
2
sense.
Yeah.
years after chapter 1, chapter 2 came out, and then 2 years no,
It's been more than 2 years, I'm pretty sure. From
3 years? I
probably
don't
3 or
fucking remember. It's
4.
been a long fucking time
Oh my
since
god, we're recording this. I'm
chapter
just gonna
2.
Google it real quick. When did chapter 1 of Deltarune
6
come
years
out?
ago. That
2018.
came out yes, 6 years ago. 7 years this year.
Okay, so that's 7 years ago.
Well, not until September, but yes.
Okay. Have either of you have either heard of fucking hyperbolicism ever? Like,
Anyway,
Anyway,
but yeah, no, I think when I reached the 3D era of chapter 3, which you come across it very fast,
oh yeah, it is. It is almost
I
my first,
was
instantaneous.
I
mhm.
was very overstimulated the
my
rest of
first,
the chapter
my first
3.
thought it was like, oh, Toby Fox has created analog horror. I understand.
Honestly,
See,
yes. I mean, yes, that's kind of what this whole game is, to be honest.
Oh, okay,
I
okay. Maybe we should just start with that then. What kind of genre do we think this game is in?
analog
this,
horror in a way, kind of, not really.
and it's I mean the game is itself is an RPG, but you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that in my notes too, because I
extremely
just
innovative RPG.
I am convinced this is a horror game though, because like going through chapter 3, it's all hunky dory until the end, and then it's kind of depressing for understandable reasons, and then it's like, oh, we're back at it again. We saved Toriel, and then boom, the Roaring Night, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. But if you go
And we didn't
throughout
say there's
the,
gonna be spoilers. If you were
oh
expecting it
yeah,
to be non-spoilery,
uh,
sorry.
yeah.
play the
Sorry,
game,
I
watch
thought
the
I said at
game.
first when I said we're going to be discussing chapters one
I mean,
through four.
if anything through editing, you could just put
I'm
spoilers
not gonna
for.
do that. I'm not gonna. We said
Well,
it. They know now to dip out. It's been 4 minutes.
I kind of spoiled chapter 3, but I don't care.
All right.
Anyway, so
Listen,
but the
listen. I
weird,
still haven't decided the
oh,
title of this video yet, but it's gonna be like theories and discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, but they're going throughout chapter 3 in general for me while I was playing the game, because if you know the game, you kind of realize chapter 3 has a lot more to it than just the surface in order to get the and mantle and shit for the fucking Roaring Knight. That's a whole other story though. We'll get to that later. But there was just a point within one of the mini games. No, not the mini games. Whenever you reach the S rank room, because I got it
Mhm.
after the second round. Like I got S rank after the second round, and that's kind of like that was my first hint to like there's more to chapter 3 than I realized because I went to S rank room and I'm like, "Oh god, why is this everything's so gray and weird and depressing." So I find like the what I'm going to call the mini game console because that's what you find in the back of the um S rank
That's
room.
been cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went about it and, it's kinda like Legend of Zelda, like, the
Yeah, the
the
dungeon
original
crawleriness of
Legend of
it, yeah.
yes, dungeon crawler, we're going to attack monsters and stuff this time. This is how the game is actually supposed to be, according to RAM, um and so I went about it and then I killed everyone. I'm like, "Oh." And then I get on the little ferry thing, and go around on the water and stuff, and I'm like, "Well, in my original round 2, I went up so far that Tina was like, "This
I
cut!" Like,
I
and
did that as well.
technical difficulties and stuff like that, and it's like, he was like, "This game isn't finished. I told you that. Now play the
So do you guys want to know a fun fact about the one that I
Oh,
watched? Because
well,
I went,
hold
I
on,
went,
hold on,
oh,
hold on. I wasn't finished. So I
sorry,
went up
sorry.
there in the mini game console because I was like, okay, well, if Tina did that, and if this is the quote unquote real way to play this game, then I want to go up there. And then I found the door with the fucking DeltaRune on it, and I'm like, oh god. And then it was just like mysteriously saying, like, when I clicked on it, aren't you forgetting something? And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, wow, that's kind of horrifying in chapter 3, but it gets so much worse. Anyway, go ahead, Michi.
Well, no, what I was trying to say, what was so funny, it was, so I was gonna originally play the game like everybody else was, and then my life lifed, we'll just leave it at that for right now, and I was like, I can't sit down and just play this right now. But I really, really wanted to, like, be along with the crowd and have fun, because technically
Yeah.
I played all of Undertale, and then I played chapter 1 before I was even friends with you guys. Like,
Yeah.
or wait, no, maybe we were friends at that
We
point
were
because it was
friends.
20 it
It
was
was it came
2018.
out in 2018. I knew you.
Oh, that's right. We did know each other in 2018. Right, 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 right. So, uh, well, by that I mean like we aren't like what we are now, kind of a thing. Uh, oh my god, my brain, my brain. But I was like, oh, this is a cool little thing. I wonder when we're gonna get the next part. And then chapter 2 had already come out, and I think you both had already played it before me, or one of you did.
Hmm.
And then we decided to stream it on my Twitch channel, and we had a blast with that because we replayed through chapter 1. I remember, to get to chapter 2,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun. So that was how I replayed chapter 2. And then, like I said, brained. So I went and I was like, all right, I don't want to listen to someone's commentary. I want to have like a whatever they're called when there's like it's just the game.
No
No comment.
commentary.
No
Let's play.
commentary, let's play, thank you. So I looked that up, and I found one, and nowhere in that upload, because it was just the whole thing in one go, was that it was the weird route. So I ended up with my watching of it, them finding all the stuff for the weird route first time. I'm like, wow, this chapter is so damn long. Like,
Yeah.
because I didn't know that was the weird route. I thought that was the normal route for my first time
No.
through.
Damn.
Yeah.
No, because it's so fucking hard to get S rank on round 1. It's so hard.
Oh yeah, and
I
I personally
Ugh.
think that's by the design.
Oh yeah, because like I don't even remember. I think I got like B or C rank my first time playing for round
Mm-hmm.
1. Because I didn't know that there were, like, ranks and stuff at the time, like, you don't know until you play it, um, and then I was like, "Oh, crack Snuckles. Oh, we're doing that game, huh?" I'm like, I can't get into S rank room? Bullshit. So I was like, I found the guy that was like, hey, you could buy your way into S rank room uh if you don't want to go through the hell in round two. And I'm like, no, bitch, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna click on everything in round two. I'm gonna
Oh
do
my
this
god.
shit. So I went into round two and I obliterated that bitch. I was horrible with the fucking Guitar Hero
Segment.
minigame, but since I found everything in round two, it didn't matter. I got S rank and I'm like, hell yeah, I fucking got it, bitch. Um, but then when Mitchie was like, yeah, so in order to get to the get like the weird route in or to get the shadow mantle in order to easierly fight like for the roaring knights fight to be a bit more
For the
easy.
fight, for the fight, the
Yeah,
end boss of chapter 3.
you have to basically get S rank for both rounds in order to go to the mini game console and S rank room both times. And it's like I was just sitting there like, God fucking damn it, I gotta go do that now. Oh no. So yeah. Yeah, that was my experience of like, haha, Tina got you. And then I realized that Tina got me. So yeah.
All right, Morgan, what was your magical experience with your playing of it?
I love DeltaRune. It's such a fun game to play, and I love playing it, even though I am both really great at games. I'm good at games when I'm able to actually like get better at them. When I have actual practice, I'm really good at games. But also, I'm perhaps maybe in the 1% of people who have discovered that if you apparently suck so bad at the first minigame, I assume the second one as well, if you suck so bad, Tenna will go, ooh, try that again. Because, oh, you can suck. I don't know what it was about that first minigame. I could not comprehend it. I could not fucking comprehend the game flow of it. There was just something not. I'm since fine at it. I'm okay at it now. But for some reason, at that first time, just playing it, I just couldn't play it. I fucked it up so bad the first time he made me redo it. And the second time, I feel like I probably just barely passed. I don't even know. Or maybe it was just I did just as bad and he was just like, "Eh, fuck it. We're just going to keep going." Um but yeah, I I had a good time. I apparently found, which is not always very typical for me, I apparently found some stuff I think on my first playthrough of chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a very funny story. On my first playthrough of chapter 3, I think I did actually find some things that I know other people, my friends had not. I found the bonus room where you can find a little secret Spamson Teta interaction.
Wait,
Um
really? What is it?
yeah.
hmm
Oh, really? Okay. Fucking hell! I thought it was so easy to find. I genuinely thought it was a really easy thing. I don't know why I'm the only one who's found it on a
Okay, so
first run.
what I'm hearing is you sucked at the start, but you found one of the most hardest like random Easter eggs. You found a gaster pretty much is what you're saying. You found like a
Apparently,
gaster Easter egg.
a fucking apparently. I God, holy shit. So, okay, if anyone hasn't found it, if you have then, or if you want to find it on your own, you can skip this. The one hint I can give you is that you find it in the big maze of all the terminals. The one where it keeps catching you into quizzes. It's just that giant maze area. Um, there's two secret rooms you can find. One is actually on the far right side. Both of these are towards the bottom on the either side, on the left and right. On the right side, it's just a small room. It has a golden Sam and a silver Sam, and it just says like you have an important choice to make: love or hate. I don't know what happens if you pick hate, though. Apparently, I have learned from a friend, if you do the weird route, if you did Snowgrave, you don't get a choice. Hate wins.
Oh
Really?
shit.
Really?
Yeah,
So what do they pick
which
if
is
you don't get a choice?
it just hate. Hate
Oh,
wins.
just
Love
hate.
doesn't get to. You
Oh,
don't get to pick
okay.
love.
I
Um,
I do know what happens if you choose hate because I went back whenever I was doing my second run of chapter 3 in order to get the shadow mantle. I
yeah.
went back to it. I did have a choice by the way because I didn't do Snowgrave.
Yes.
So technically I did the weird route to get the shadow mantle, quote unquote, for chapter 3, but I didn't do Snowgrave, so it let me have that choice. I
Yeah.
did both just to see kind of what happened. I'll let you say what love was, but what happens if you choose hate is one of the Sams literally knocks the other Sam out of like frame, and it
Oh.
says love hate. I mean, not love. Hate wins, and that's all that happens. But
Wow.
that's very
Yeah.
crazy that
Yeah, apparently if you did
if
Snowgrave,
there's
I
Snowgrave.
think genuinely Snowgrave has a deep effect on the entire game, but I'll
Oh,
get into
Oh,
that
I
because I
think
have
definitely.
I
so
think
many
so too.
opinions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll bookmark this for later. But what I've been telling everybody about is that I don't think a lot of, because when I hear people talk about uh Deltarune, I hear a lot of
Mhm.
the same Undertale language. I hear pacifist. I'm doing a pacifist route. I'm doing
Yeah, I've
true
noticed that
pacifist.
too. I've noticed
I'm
that too.
doing, whatever. Like I'm doing genocide, whatever. And I'm like, I think that we need to throw that language out because I think that the weird route is not a bad route. It's not going to get us a bad end, quote unquote. I'm going to get there later. I think it is a very horrible, abhorrent thing to do, hands down. There is nothing about it that is an actual like good thing, like on a moral standpoint. But I think that I don't think that Deltarune has the same concept of Undertale of like
Oh, for
doing the
sure.
good thing versus the bad thing. But I'm going to get into that in a minute. I
Yeah,
think that there's
'cause
a
I
bigger
also
narrative reason for it.
I also have some points on that too, so I'll
Yeah.
let you
But
finish
back
your
to
point.
my super awesome secret that apparently only I found on my first run in chapter 3. So on that side, you get if you pick love, they kiss, and it says love wins.
And I think
Yay!
that's more of a
Uh,
metaphor for what's their faces since it's a silver and gold Sam, which is
Possibly, yeah.
very cute.
It's very cute. God, fucking hell, I
That's
have
one
so
of
many
the
thoughts
names.
about fucking
I know, I know, I know.
all of
That's why.
that.
Listen, it's why the runtime is gonna be what it's gonna be,
I
and
know.
why I was
So
like, literally last night, I'm like, maybe we should write notes down because I know there's gonna be stuff we're gonna want to
I
talk
didn't have
about, and
time
we
to
don't
write
want to
notes.
forget.
There's no time to write notes. Not for me. But anyway, so fucking anyway, on the other side, however, on the bottom like left side, however,
Mhm.
um if you go in there, you find a bonus room. This bonus room is like it's a bunch of chests. It's just a bunch of chests that have a bunch of free points in there if you go through and you open all the chests. When you get to the end, there's a giant chest, whatever. It plays out pretty scriptedly. Where Tenna runs in and is just like, "What are you all doing in here? Jesus Christ!" And as he chases all the Rudens out, he goes, "Oh my God! I hope they didn't find my super special secret item," and he runs off. So if you continue on to the right, you enter this like dark little shady room in the back, and there's just a single dresser. And as you open the dresser, a small pippus falls out. And of course, you're just like, "What is that?" And then quickly Tenna comes back, and so you run off screen to go hide. And Tenna gets there and is just like, "Oh no, my sweet baby, what are you doing out here? Like, are you okay?" And it says, and I'm sure this is probably different depending on if you beat Spamton and all that. You does probably require you to actually beat Spamton and have him equipped. I also
Mhm.
don't know if there's a difference between how you beat him or what item you get, but I know if you have the deal maker, it says there's in the game, it says deal maker leaves your inventory. It hops out, Spamton slides into screen. He's like, "You do remember, you do care." And Tenna spends a solid minute, if you just let the text play, like just going, ooh, ah, like just doing that for a full minute of him
Stop!
freaking out. And then it
Stop!
stops and he goes, "Oh my God, a rat," and sprays Spanton with like a fucking fire extinguisher.
Wait, I've seen fan art of that. I thought that was like a
Yeah,
gag. I didn't know that was.
no,
No.
that
I.
happens in the
Oh my
game.
god, no! I dead ass thought I must have missed it or something. That literally, I.
Nope, that's real.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does it, and then he does that, and he like his pose is so his fucking pose. If you look at it, is so funny. It
it's
reminds
so
me
good.
of
I
like
see it. Yeah,
those
I see it.
it's like the old 1960s like ads of women who
Yeah,
are
the
like,
huh, huh.
oh, like, oh my God, it's so funny. But then he does it, and he's covered in whatever the fuck foam. And as you walk back over, Spanton just goes, "I'm never doing that again," and he goes back into your inventory. And that's it. That's the whole And so, if anything, that has made the fandom go wild because they're just like, "Wait, so it's canonical that Jevil and fucking Spanton are just hanging out in your pocket? They're just fucking hanging out
Yeah, they're
there
just
watching
there.
everything
Yeah,
happen?" Um, God, it's so funny.
yeah.
But
Because
yeah,
I've
there's that
seen fan
tiny
art.
little.
I've also seen the Oh my god, what was that stupid video? It was it was from Corpse Bride, like, does your makeup ASMR video, that, like, cursed fucking photo of the Victor Van Dort with the bug
Yeah.
spray. I've seen that, but, like, people drawing it as Tenna. Like,
Oh god,
oh
yeah. That's literally
god.
the interaction. I also forgot to say, if anyone wants to see this interaction and has no idea how to find it, go to if you're in the giant maze room of all the terminals and all the quizzes and stuff, if you go to like a bottom left area, you'll find a screen on one of them where it's like, Tenna's kissy lips, that specific screen loop. One of them is like a bright green and it kind of holds there. So if you click on that, it opens a secret door, and that's the door you want to go through. It's the same thing for the one on the other side, but that's if you want this specific little plot, little Easter egg. But I can't. Every time I mention it, I'm like, surely this is not that hard to find. You just got to wander around and click things. Surely other people have found it, right? And every time I brought it up, someone's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Darn it! I didn't expect that was, of all the things, going to be the thing that I found that was a super secret thing." But there you go. I am in the special club now. For some reason, I sucked ass at the mini games, but goddamn, I can hunt down them secrets. But yeah, if anyone wants to know, I'm just. Oh, and then also the joy. I won't go on too long. Also the joy of, like, I hadn't looked anything up. I didn't comprehend exactly how this all worked. I went through all of chapter 3. I found the knight. I did all of that stuff, but I didn't ever find the secret boss. And I assumed, oh, secret boss must be in the fucking in the room in the fucking S rank room, and I didn't get in there, gosh darn it. So I was playing it. I got all the way through to chapter 3. It was late as fuck at night. I look at it, I'm like, I could continue and start chapter 4, but also, man, I really want that secret boss, because I surely haven't found the secret boss yet, guys. Surely I haven't found it anywhere. There's no secret bosses here. It must be in the
Well,
S
yeah,
rank
yeah,
room.
yeah, there is no secret bosses in Deltarune.
Yeah, I did all of chapter 3. I encountered the Roaring Knight, and I was just like, secret boss, I wonder where that could be. I wonder what the secret boss is. It must be this Mike character I keep hearing about, surely. And I'm like, because again, I hadn't seen any spoilers.
Yeah.
So I made the choice late as fuck at night to replay all of chapter 3, saying, like, I can play that really fast. I can replay it so fast. I know what to look for. And like an idiot, because I wanted to keep my save files open in case I played with friends and things, I saved over my original save file when I finished it.
No.
And I did that, and as I'm replaying it, I'm sitting here being like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And I played through the entire chapter 3 in like one sitting, delirious at night, because I'm like, well, I gotta fucking finish it because I want to play chapter 4. God, why did I do? All I could think was, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? And I'm looking through the walkthrough I was following on how to get to S rank room and make sure I could get there and I don't fuck anything up. And at this point, I hadn't spoiled on who the secret boss was, and I had not made the connection. And as I'm doing it, here's what I will say: through all of my suffering of replaying it, while at the time I was like, this is such bullshit. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? It was exactly at the end of it where I made a revelation on how the game functions and how the game is programmed that made actually replaying the entire chapter 3 in one sitting 100% worth it. Because I made some revelations on how the game functions, and I think how the game is going to function when it's actually a full game with all its chapters.
Yeah.
Because so just a long little highlight point, because most of it obviously was I played it exactly the same for the most part, save a few different decisions just to see what happened. And as I was going through there, at some point I finally scrolled down and I realized, oh, the knight is the secret boss. I'm just getting the shadow mantle thing that lets me fight it easier. And I'm like, that's what all of this is about. Holy shit. So I'm like, I made that revelation. I was like, oh, well, shit. But as I was going, here's something that happened to me that I thought was very particular. Thought I was going crazy. I thought I was really dumb, because when I walked in, okay, because like in the walkthrough, it says that if in the first round, if you don't get S rank in the first round, you can just go down to the bottom room in the green room and buy a pass to get to the S rank room. And I was sitting there for a moment and I was scratching my head as I entered the green room and I saw the door was already open and I was like, wait a second. When I played this, that wasn't there the first time, was it? Did I just miss a whole room the first time? Because what I thought had happened, no, I should say, I thought happened, but this did actually happen, but I was gaslighting myself. I thought I was going crazy because what had happened when you play chapter 3 the first time, when you enter the green room, there is a room below it. It's actually it's like the final room you enter when you get to the second half of chapter 3, if anyone understands what I'm talking about. It's like little Tenna's little lounge area, whatever it is, the lounge area at the bottom of the green room. When you first enter it in round 1, it is closed off. There is absolutely no way to access that room in round 1 on your first playthrough. I say this because in round 2, that's when you can go talk to the bouncer guy at the far right of the room, and you have like 3 different choices on how to interact with them. One of them, I believe, does nothing. One of them opens the door so you can get outside, and the third one opens that bottom room at the bottom. Which, of course, I did it at the first time. I wandered around, and I was like, "Whoa, cool, nice, awesome." I didn't think there was anything to do there. I figured it was something I was going to have to come back to later. So I was left there. In the second time I played it, round 1 finishes. I go to the green room, and that door is already open. That door that you can't open until the second round when you're playing it the first time. And I thought I was going fucking crazy because I thought that it was cool. I was like, was it open this whole time? Did I just not explore it the first time I was in here? I thought I'm more thorough than that. Oh my god! But no, I have since learned through my friends verifying for me that is not how it is how I was imagining it. The first time you do play it, it is closed and you can't enter it until round 2, meaning that little cheat to get around not getting S rank in round 1 if you didn't get it the first time, as most people are likely not to get it the first time, is in fact impossible on the first time you play it on a fresh game file. And this all goes back into my thing of I think that you're not supposed to get the Shadow Mantle the first time. I think you're supposed to replay it because you need that prior experience and knowledge in order to actually get S rank the first time. Because if you don't get S rank the first time and you can't get into the S rank room after the first round, you can't get the Shadow Mantle. You can't do that. So
Sorry, computer's barking.
you're fine. So but for a while, for the entire chapter, I was gaslighting myself. I was just like, I must be crazy. I must have never fucking did nothing and whatever. So I'm reading the tutorial as I'm going, and I'm reading more, and so hopefully people know this by this point. The idea about the whole Roaring Knight thing is that once you fight it the first time, you just have to progress. Like if you lose the first time, you just have to keep progressing the game. It won't let you just retry it like you can with the other bosses and stuff. You just have to keep going with the story. However, it's when you reload your save again that it actually lets you, and try to fight it a second time, is when it lets you actually start pressing retry.
Okay.
So I knew that because I was looking at the tutorial and I was like, okay, so I'm just going to go through all of this, whatever. So at a certain point while I was doing the weird route, I decided that it was really late at night. And I was like, from what I know, this fight is hard. I should wait. And it's really late at night. Let me just save and make a split save, and I'll just come back to this later. Let me just finish chapter 3 normally, and I'll just go on to chapter 4. Again, this whole time I'm hitting my head on a wall because I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? I was like, I'm not even finishing it, so why did I do that? But I went through it and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna fight the Roaring Knight, and hey, this will make it easier because when I reload next time, it'll probably let me do it, whatever. I do the Roaring Knight, I die again immediately, and the text comes up asking if I would like to retry on a save where I had saved over my previous file, aka saved over where I had ever fought the knight originally. And I was like, hang on a minute. Like, wait a second. You're not supposed to be here. I haven't done it. In this particular technical save file, I haven't done this yet. Why is the text here? Gaster, what are you doing here? Why are you talking to me right now? I ended up trying it a couple times just to see what I was in for. I don't think I ever got past like round 3, I think. But that all made me super interested because it told me, the text even told me of like this fight is nearly impossible. You don't have what you need to do this fight. But if you want to try again, you can go for it. And so, that right there is exactly where I was like, replaying this entire thing on my stupid little save file because I was dumb was actually completely worth it, because it told me that even if you like erase that save file, even if you save over it with a different one, as far as I understand, if your name is the same, if the name on the file in the original file in general is the same, they remember that you did it before. They remember that you were there before and that you've played that specific stuff before, because that's why the room was unlocked during my first round in the second time I played it, because I
Which
had been there before and I had already unlocked it.
It wouldn't be surprising to me because Undertale has done that.
Yeah.
Undertale remembers your saves, even if you've erased them.
Yeah.
So it must be something in the code that Toby had implemented, which again isn't the first time he's done something like this. I'm wouldn't be surprised if you played the other chapters again with that same save file or like the same name on that save file or whatever. They would like there would be like little hints that they kind of remember or
Mhm.
something. I mean,
It's
I haven't really done that, but
mhm.
worth a look too.
It's it has made me think a lot, and especially after playing chapter 4, and also because of touching a little bit of the weird sort of route of to get the shadow mantle in chapter 3, that I think that if you're playing this game without prior knowledge and without any of that, I think that the intended game loop is that you might, because this is what I mean. I don't think that this is like Undertale, where it's like you have a separate good bad route, and if you do one, you lock yourself out of the other. I'm almost thinking that everything that you might need to actually do kind of everything to do what you need to do to actually beat the game in the end, or really like complete the game properly, because let's just be realistic. We all know about Snowgrave most likely because of outside knowledge. We saw it in
Yes.
a video. We've
Yeah.
looked up a tutorial. I think most people, 99% of people who are not like super hardcore secret digging gamers, would not have been would never be able to figure out that Snowgrave was even an option.
Well, that was
Like
me.
at
No,
all.
that was my thing. Like, I saw fan art of it, and I'll be honest, like, people enough were like vague enough to it that I'm like, oh, okay, this is just like a grim dark thing. I've seen it with Undertale fan art. I've seen it with a lot of fandoms I'm in, right? I'm a horror fan.
Yeah.
So I didn't know it was real, because also, I think I'm fine speaking for all three of us here, where like we've all pretty much grown up with fandom on the internet and stuff like that. So like, you know what I mean? It's like you see
Mhm.
certain things and you're like, yeah, we've been known, we're nerds, we're
Mhm.
geeks, we get it. So I didn't know that was real. It's just why when we originally played it, like when you guys described, because you two knew about it, I didn't even know what it was called. Because I remember you were like, yeah, like that's why we're not doing the Snowgrave route, and I'm like, what is Snowgrave? And they were like, it's like the genocide route, and I was like, wait, what? Like I was so shocked. I had no idea
Mhm.
that's what it was, because like again, people were vague enough and were nice enough to like not overly spoil the game, which is something I do want to say, at least in my algorithmic feed. People were pretty nice at first about not spoiling the game like the day it dropped, so like I know that was cool. I don't know about you guys if you saw, like, I did see a spoiler, but
I mean, I avoid the internet at all costs in terms of like social media, like
yeah.
Twitter, Instagram.
Mhm.
That's like that's just a personal thing that I do for my peace of mind. So if anybody would be spoiled by it, it would be you two.
Yeah,
That
I'm
that or if I see a thing in a thumbnail on YouTube because YouTube is basically
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah,
things
because
right
people love putting
now.
the literally the plot twist in the
The
thumbnail, yeah.
absolute
yeah.
spoilers in the fucking thumbnails, and it's like, great guys, thanks.
Yeah, I did pretty good at avoiding it this time around. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know shit until I
yeah.
started
So I'm like,
playing.
I think that in this realm of internet, of course you're going to know about it because everyone talks about it and everyone has their guide on how to get there. But if you're a normal casual player, you wouldn't even know it's a concept. Like even when because I was trying to remember because it's been so long. Like when I was replaying it myself and going through chapter 2, I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't even remember how you even started because there's no like. Because here's the thing, like genocide route Undertale, simple. You kill everything.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
all
yeah.
there
That's
is
the
to it.
thing.
There's
Like
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
fancy.
Yeah,
that's
There's
it
the
no
was
crazy
fancy.
that's the
Yeah,
crazy thing though. Chapter 2, Snowgrave doesn't even start until you have Noelle on your
I
team.
know.
You don't
Well, it's like
necessarily
that's what I
even have
mean.
to kill
And I
everybody
mean,
until
even
Noelle's on.
when you Yeah, and even when you have her on your team, it's just like knowing what to do. There's so many steps to even get there for you to
Right.
even and you have to kill everything a specific way too.
Yeah.
That's like a whole thing as well. Like it can't just be you fight them and they die. You have to use a
Mm-hmm.
specific spell to get there. So it's like it is so convoluted. There's no easy way to even know that it's an option that you can do, especially in a game that in the first chapter told you and insisted upon you. Like, because if you were, for example, if you're someone who was an Undertale player and you're playing DeltaRune and you do chapter one, if you, let's say you play it twice and you see in one route, you save everyone, you have mercy, and the second one you kill everyone, and you notice there's not really much of a difference. You go into chapter two almost thinking, okay, I guess my choices don't really have that much of an impact on the game. You probably don't even think that it's an option. However, then you get to chapter three. Let's say you're a normal player, you have no outside knowledge from the internet. You get to chapter three and you're playing on, you get to the little S rank room and you're doing all of that, possibly on your second playthrough, like most people. You get there and you start seeing this game go, where at a certain point you get to the inside room in the second round, and you go in there and you get a character who's in a white hood and has ice magic and is starting to throw ice magic around. And every time you act and you swing your sword, they cast ice magic when they do it, which is a reference, of course, to the fact that you make characters act, and you do that. Uh, you have that kind of command on you. Uh, you, and then and even beyond that, every time you do it, the character like flashes like they've been hurt, like the enemies do when they get hurt. Which implies that there is some kind of damage that has to happen whenever that character is doing that. And then after you freeze all of the other monsters and you get to the end, there's a bird who's blocking your way that you cannot get past unless you freeze them. It literally tells you step by step how to do Snowgrave. If you have, and that to me, if you are a player going in with no outside knowledge, with no, and it even tells you in text as well, of it all started with, I believe it all started with the mage or something like that, or it all started with whatever it says. But it tells you, like, if you're a player going into it, you have no idea what Snowgrave is, you don't use the internet, you are complete, like, you have no experience with any of this at all. That is the game. It's in chapter 3 where the game tells you how to do Snowgrave if you choose to dig into it enough.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it's like, I think it's obviously connected to the weird route. I don't think that, like Snowgrave, I don't think doing that in chapter 3 gravely changes the entire game, but
Mm-hmm.
it does tell you how in chapter 2 to do the thing that you probably wouldn't figure out unless you had outsider knowledge anyway. So it's like, that to me tells me so much, I think, on how the game is supposed to flow. I think you're almost supposed to go through the game normally at one point, and I bet you when you reach the end of the game, regardless of how good or how merciful you tried to be, you're going to hit a point where it's like, I mean, I think I know how this game is going to kind of go, but like you're going to hit a point where you can't progress or you're going to always be trapped in the same ending. And it's only by getting other knowledge from other chapters and other variants of those chapters that you're going to be able to actually like have the knowledge you need to complete the game. And it's like, I think that's deeply fascinating. And I think that there's something really fucked up and awful about those implications. Because I'm also thinking of like, other than morbid curiosity, which also obviously does flow us, and I do think is a part of this game in a lot of ways. Let me put a pin on that. But like, if you're a player who's like, whose goal is like, I want to do the nice thing, I want to be like pure pacifist, why would you ever do Snowgrave? Why would you ever want to do Snowgrave? Other than fucked up curiosity, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
And
like, you know,
it
it's interesting.
it's just crazy because I like going off of that though. I don't think, like Morgan said, I don't think that doing the quote unquote weird route for chapter 3 really affects anything other than you getting the shadow mantle for the Roaring Night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Toby could do something else with those that knowledge as well as the shadow mantle in general for the later chapters. Who fucking knows? But but it from the way that I have played it, since I didn't do the Snowgrave route, and I'm sure you've seen this too, Morgan, but going into chapter 4, like what you did in chapter 3 in terms of like the console mini games where you what leads you to get to the shadow mantle, like it
Mm-hmm.
has no effect on chapter 3
But
or
Snowgrove
even
does.
or even the silly little like fucking uh what are they? What are they? The fucking Golden Sams.
Hmm.
Uh like what you were talking about. The only thing that fucking affects it, like you said, is Snowgrave. Um
Yeah.
which makes me like convinced that if you did Snowgrave, like, and you didn't do the quote unquote weird route of chapter 3, like shit would still be affected. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to defeat the Roaring Knight in chapter 3 in order to fucking go about your the real weird route of it all, of like just Snowgrave.
Hmm.
Cuz like, oh boy, like, and it's crazy to think about. um because if that is the case, if you are somebody who never heard about Snowgrave, you're not really within the fandom that much, you went about chapter 1 and chapter 2 about it, like, didn't touch Snowgrave at all, you get to chapter 3 and start finding the secrets and shit, and you go through what Morgan just described, that's fucking terrifying because that,
Yeah.
like, playing those console mini games was horrifying even to me,
Hmm.
knowing about the Snowgrave. Like, this game is really about morality, and it's a thing of, like, I think this game is trying to depict on, like, there's no real, like, bad guy unless you make of it being the bad guy, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
um you basically get to dictate who and who isn't the bad guy of this game, because the bad guy could really be the player themselves, like,
Hmm.
um but again, that also I feel like depends on how you play the game. um
I've been sitting
like
here.
Hmm.
uh,
Sorry, go ahead, finish your
uh
thought.
but it was horrifying. No, I remember finally, like, because once you do beat that specific mini game with basically the metaphor of Noelle, like, at the end, there's a
Hmm.
narrator that says, like, "She's all used
She's
up,"
all
and
used
she
up.
fucking disappears.
It's really
And
fucked up.
it's crazy because after that, it also says, "You're all used up,"
Hmm.
after finding the shelter key at the end of that, mini game, and it says, "You're all used up," and the game fades to black, and Chris is fucked up and just kinda looks directly at the camera like they do, uh, every time you make a decision or something is said where it directly affects them, but it is
Hmm.
your choices that make it be the way that it is.
Hmm.
Um, and then after the final mini game, uh like, I remember finally getting the shadow mantle, and by the way, like, in order to go to the final boss of that mini game console, the third one, you have to kill Ralsei and you have to kill Susie
Yeah.
at the beginning of it,
Hmm.
and both times, it was fucking creepy doing it because both times that you like, when you kill Ralsei and when you kill Susie, Chris both times looks back at you like, "Fuck you," kind of.
And it's
Um,
also a thing too of, again, like, the way it's formatted, you're playing a video game in the dark.
yes, like,
Hmm.
you're all alone playing a video game in the dark, you're doing these things, and because it's basically like you're controlling Chris to do these things,
Yeah.
it's a metaphor for all of this shit. And then, once you finally get the shadow mantle and shit like that, uh in order to get it, it's so fucked up because the it's hard to like describe this without like a visual, but essentially there is like a wall blocking your path in order to get to the chest that has the shadow mantle in. So
Hmm.
basically, what you have to do is follow the path that leads the game Chris is what I'm going to call him. Mini game Chris literally has to follow the path, and it's basically like, what is a good way to describe it? The mini game Chris basically jumps out of the video game itself, climbs down the wall towards Chris. Chris is fucking terrified because the only thing that you can do as this mini game Chris that you're controlling is slash. You can only walk or you can only slash.
And what's
So
Hmm.
really creepy about it
once
too
you
is once you jump, once the mini Chris jumps out of the TV, it's not like it changes into what Chris looks like. It stays the little pixelated player form, you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And like you can't do like the controls don't let you do anything but go towards Chris. You can't leave the room, you can't go back into the mini game, you can't do shit. But when you get to Chris and you slash, it makes Chris fucking fall down. Like it doesn't hit them, but it makes them fall down and they're scared and shit like that. Of basically you. That's basically the metaphor of all this. They are scared of you, as at least that's how I take it. And then the little minigame Chris runs out of the room after they're satisfied, and you go back to controlling Chris, and Chris goes into the mini game in order to be able to reach the fucking shadow mental. So it's very fucking creepy. And then
Mhm.
Susie also comes in, which I love this part. Again, still creepy, but I love this part. Susie comes in and is like, "Hey, what are you doing here, bud? The lights come on, everything. It's not a dark room anymore." Susie's like, "What are you doing here, bud? Playing a game? Are you having fun?" And you have the option of either saying yes or no as Chris. And I don't know what happens if you say yes, but I chose no, and Susie's like, "Well, get a load of this." Takes the controller from Chris's hand, throws it down on the ground, and says, "You can stop playing." And I literally got up from my chair and started walking around my room because I could not with Susie. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so
Mm.
sorry, Chris." I don't like that. And mind you, you can get all of this without playing Snowgrave. So somebody who has no idea about Snowgrave goes through all of this just to find shit like that, that's horrifying to me. I was horrified knowing about all that shit. But, like, if you don't know anything about it, I don't know, my whole view of the game would change drastically.
Mhm. Yeah. I've
That's why I'm convinced that this game is maybe not intended to be a horror game, but it is basically a
Oh, it's
horror
definitely
game to
creepy. The
me.
stuff you have to do, like especially again for the Snowgrave and the just anything, even and post Snowgrave, because the shit that happens in chapter 4 post Snowgrave is
Oh.
fucked up.
Oh my
It's I
god.
haven't played it. I haven't seen a full thing of it. The glimpses of what I've seen,
I have,
do y'all know
it's
anything
bad.
about it? Okay,
Oh, I
just
know about it.
I just want to mention it for anyone who cares to know or wants to know about it, because there's a really big difference, because some people have obviously debated of like, does is Chris like on board for Snowgrave or not? And in chapter 4
No.
they definitely tell you hands down for sure how much we're not supposed to do that, and how cruel it is that we're doing that, because
Yeah.
and again, this is also why I can't believe that there's still some people who can't understand the concept that we and Chris are two different people,
right, no, that's
because
something I wanted to talk
I
like
just
about.
yeah,
yeah.
Because
yeah,
Yeah.
because
literally, a lot of people forget this. This is important. It's what you're talking about. At the very start of the game, before you even start chapter 1, it literally says name your vessel, and then we like go through the process of making us to then wake up in Chris.
yeah. It's like there's so much in there and it's so overt, but especially like in chapter 4 in general especially should separate it, but also um in fucking uh in the Snowgrave thing, there's a really fucked up thing you can do, because in normal chapter 4 there's a part, I'm sure everyone knows, where Chris goes into a closet and throws you in a box and like
Yes.
walks away, because and just tries to leave you there so that they can go fuck around and do their little sneaky stuff. And then you get in the vents and all that kind of thing. In chapter 4, if you've done Snowgrave and you continue to do some really appalling things that I won't completely ruin if people want to experience it, because it is very fucked up. If you kind of continue with that and you torment Noelle even more, when Chris rips you out, Chris goes to the bathroom, rips you out, throws you in a trash can, and then starts kicking the trash can violently.
Yes.
So I think it's pretty clear. Chris's feelings are on
Yeah.
Snowgrave. Um,
Like, they already don't like us going about the game normally,
yes.
obviously. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Imma be real, I wouldn't like like, the puppet master basically puppeting me around, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Waka Waka Spamton. Anyway, um, like, puppeting me around if I couldn't control my own actions or what I get to say or shit like that, like, I wouldn't like them either. But if they made me violently, like,
Well,
traumatize my friends,
well, I think
I
another
would
important
fucking want to rip my own soul out to fucking beat it in the trash can.
well, I think another important thing too to like to talk about with this aspect is if there is an option Chris really, really doesn't like, they're not gonna do it. Like they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
find way. Like we've
Yeah.
learned this now. Like literally to the point of I forgot what the option is, but there's an option that you can pick, and like Chris literally starts to eat their own hand, and I think Susie's like, whoa, 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 whoa,
It's
whoa, like what are you doing? Like,
There's a part, there's actually a part it's really interesting in chapter 4 when you go to Rousey's room for the first time
Mhm.
mm-hmm,
and you find that out. You have the option where Rousey's asking you, like, is it weird that I have, like, should I go on my own? Should I have my own feelings? Should I be a person? And you have the option basically to say yes or no. If you say yes, it's like, wow, that's so nice of you. Thank you. If you say no, Chris covers their own mouth.
Mhm.
Stops you.
really,
It stops you from being mean for Rousey in that situation. It actually, which is really
mm-hmm,
interesting to me because I've going through the game, I thought it was really fascinating because in the game, I felt like there's a lot of stuff that Chris did where if you make certain choices, Chris seems a little like not the biggest fan of Rousey. But for some reason, when you give the option to tell Rousey to be his own person, or yes, you should just continue to be a puppet. If you try to be mean to him, Chris is like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. Fucking
something else that I
And I
think is
wonder, I wouldn't be surprised, and this goes along with the theory that I have. I wouldn't be surprised if it's because, like, if we're still going with the theory, because I think we made this in our last theory, like, video type thing of, like, um, Ralsei is the person that Chris has always wanted to be, because I firmly believe still that Ralsei
Mhm.
is just the little red pair of horns that Chris
Yeah.
had going around.
yeah. Because now let's talk
But
about that. I mean,
I
we've
hold
oh
on.
sorry, go
Uh,
ahead.
we are, hold on. But I have a theory that maybe because we could really be an asshole to Ralsei if we wanted to be in chapter 2, and Chris doesn't stop us. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, because the more and more we go through this game, the more that we play chapter 3, the more that we play chapter 4, it really goes to show how far Chris has come with the idea of Ralsei,
Mhm.
because, like, the way that we interact with Ralsei or how we can interact with Ralsei is a little different than how we can in chapter 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because it really seems to me that Chris is starting to warm up to Ralsei a lot more. Like,
Yeah.
the the fact that
I
we
love to see
can
it.
yeah, and the fact that we can, go into that little mini game console in chapter 3, um, and like I told you guys, we have to kill Ralsei and Susie, when you kill Susie, Susie's not the only one that Chris looks back at with vengeance when you do that. Ralsei they also do it with Ralsei,
Mhm.
being like, "Fuck you" with that. And then in chapter 4, like you were talking about, like, we can see that Chris warms up to Ralsei a lot more, which is just very nice to see if the thing of them being the Red Horns, like, because I also remember in chapter 2, whenever you look into the different, like, characters' rooms in Queen's Mansion, um, you you see that there's a room for Azriel as well, and if you try to peek in there, like, it says that you closed your eyes, you see nothing. Like, Chris closed their eyes so that we couldn't see it. So there
Mhm.
are things that we can do passively too that Chris doesn't like and keeps us from doing, which is very interesting, just to add to that type of thing. But yeah, sorry, Michi, if you want to go back onto the whole Rossi thing, we can.
Oh, well, no, what I was just trying to say is the confirmation that Darkwolders are just stuff, which, like,
Yeah.
I know was a theory a lot of people had, and I kind of put two and two together because, you know, like,
Yeah.
they're in the cabinet
It
and
makes
stuff like
sense. Yeah.
that. But I've seen a lot of people that were genuinely surprised by that, because they're like, wait, what do you mean everybody is stuff?
Like, it's kind of evident, maybe not in chapter 2 as it is in chapter 1, because you see Sham on the floor as a little plushie in chapter 1. You also see Jevel's little jester, like Jack in the Box thing at the bottom of the so-called castle. Like, you see all this stuff. Like, I don't know. And
Oh yeah.
literally Ralsei's like, hey, go collect the stuff from this classroom and bring it here in
Yeah.
chapter
Oh,
2.
even when Lancer and rules get in your pocket when you walk outside, it fucking says that you have the rules card and the Jack of Spades in your inventory.
Like, it
Like,
makes sense. And then the Star Walker, I don't know what the Star
my
Walker
favorite
is,
theory is people said that
honestly.
that he's a little sticker. Like he's a little
He's a
sticker
That's
little
what
that you
I
now
heard.
have
That's what I
permanently
heard.
attached
He's
to you
literally
that you
like,
can't
it's
take off anymore.
yeah, no, it's literally he's the he's like a good noodle sticker, like back when I was a teacher's aide.
That's
Like,
Yeah.
like a gold star.
yeah, like a
I bet he's a
gold
gold
Oh,
star.
star. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
that's so
Also, I can't believe
funny.
it's so funny. I feel so sad that they're and because I'm
That's
not ever
so
gonna backseat
funny.
game.
What the
I'm
fuck?
never. Well, no, I'm never gonna backseat game. I'm never gonna tell people how to play the game. It's so sad that there are people who do miss out on Star Walker because Jesus Christ, one of the funniest fucking things ever happens in chapter 3 if you have him. And I'm just so upset that some
Yeah.
people miss out on that. I'm like, the
Oh.
absolute guffawing I had when fucking Rules' polycule breaks up and Starwalker slides in and is just like, I'm the original
Because they're like,
Right?
Starwalker.
Right?
And
Yeah,
slides
like
they're
away with
like,
the bitches.
yeah, because they're like, yeah, we need somebody that can be in the clouds with us. And Star Walker just
he
fucking
just
slides into
walks up. He
their
just walks up.
I know. God, my
and Rules
favorite
is
bit
like,
though.
fuck my life.
Listen,
Holy
you know what
shit.
kills
I
me
was
is
losing. I was. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say what kills me is because, like, you know, I follow a lot of merch artists and stuff like that, and thing, and a lot of people are doing
I have a
Anime
Star
Expo
sticker on my
prep right
phone. I have a
now.
little Starwalker.
And I've seen,
Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I have seen a lot of merch of Star Walker. I have seen stickers. I have seen charms.
I'd
I
keep
have
the Star Walker
seen
sticker,
a
honestly.
really weird primp.
He
A
become
really
more and more
weird.
endeared to him.
I saw a
Yeah.
print of him like in a pimp chair, like with real great aura energy, and I bust up laughing, and I was like, but I didn't know if you guys knew about him yet, so I didn't send any of them.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I know about him. I got him immediately. I love it. He's so
Yes.
fucking funny. I love it. Every bit that he has is so funny. If anything, I'm just sad that he wasn't more prevalent in chapter 4, but I understand that I think tonally it makes sense why he was not. But
Yeah.
also I fucking love him. He's so fucking funny. Every chapter I become more
He
and more
didn't like the
endeared.
vibes. I'm convinced
Yeah.
he didn't like the vibe, so he didn't come
He was
out of
just
that
like this.
closet.
He's there. Well, no, actually, no. I'd stand corrected. I think that you do find him there, but he's turned to stone. He's a stone statue.
That's right.
That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
He
no, I'm
Wait,
doesn't
you're
sorry.
technically
You
be
do
right.
find
there.
him,
I
and he's
forgot
a
about
stone
that.
statue, so you can't interact with him. Which is fine. But it's like fucking. He was just like, man, this world is really pissing me off.
I'm
I like
also
to imagine
convinced
he's.
that nobody really turned to stone in chapter 3 because you can really
Yeah.
find anything on TV. That's my
Oh yeah,
theory.
that's what I think. Well, because and then people started turning into stone later, and I think that's
Yeah.
because Tenna was having a mental crumble. Like,
That's what I. Yeah, yeah,
Canceled
yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
yeah, I think he was absolutely falling to pieces.
Oh my
But
god. I
God,
would be.
God, I can't believe you've never seen it. I will fucking remind me, Mitchie, if I find Tenna and Queen fan art, I'll send it to you. The vibe is so funny. It all started with people
I've
being just
also
like, I
never.
really want Queen to bully him. Like, I just
Yeah,
want
yeah.
Queen
That's
to
why I was like,
bully.
huh, huh.
Like,
I've also never seen it, so
I'll
you'll
send it. It's so funny. I love it so much, and I love Queen so much. But yeah, I'm like, God, I fucking just to talk about some lighter stuff because I will say while we were talking about things, there was something that like hit me like a bullet. I'll save it a little bit for later of just like some possibility on how the game might function. But we could talk about some of the more silly stuff for a while. Yay!
Yeah, because the rest of the notes that I have are more of the dark, serious stuff. So
Yeah.
All right, well, let me look at mine too. Hold
We'll
on,
get to it.
because I think I have some
But if
stupid.
y'all have silly
Okay,
stuff-
wait. Okay,
I
I
have
do
some
have.
stupid stuff.
I also have stupid stuff. It's technically for chapter 4, but I feel like we can just talk all around it realistically
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
I feel like if I love the fact that when we leave Chris's body in chapter 4, if we try to touch the piano, they throw the chocolate syrup at us, and I
It's not the piano. It's if we get in their line of sight at all. I know because I fucked up the
really.
first time.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I was a little curious little monkey and I was sneaking down and I was like, "Ooh, hi, I'm gonna try to sneak past you," and they pelted me with a bottle
Okay,
and it
because the
scared the
person
shit
I
out
saw,
of me.
the
Me
one I
too.
saw was literally it was the one where the person was trying to go to the
Yeah.
piano, and Chris just nails him with that Hershey
Mm-hmm.
sauce, and
Oh no, they do that anytime they see you traveling and then they trap you again, and then you
yeah,
can't finish. And like, because I fucked up originally because I missed the entire conversation that happened, and so I reset to see the whole conversation.
yeah.
But like, um, no, they just do that if you get in their line of sight at all. Because if you
Ah,
go like
okay.
up along the ceiling, you're fine. But the moment you go like down to the bottom, Chris is just like, "Fuck you,"
Yeah. Jesus.
pelted.
Chris has a fucking great aim, may I
I
Right,
say.
know.
I
right,
hate it.
like
I fucking hate it.
Chris and
It's
Des playing
creepy.
baseball. Fucking hell.
Honestly, Jesus.
right.
Um.
Let me see what else is something is. Also, I think I'm fine saying this because I've seen some people debate it. Toby Fox said it is chocolate milk. I've seen people be like, they put something in the in that bottle and then they drank
It's
it like cream,
chocolate
and
milk,
I'm
guys.
like,
Calm down.
I
like
will say I was
Toby
one
Fox
of
is
those
like, it was
people, like, I don't know,
it's
because
chalky
Chris
milk.
literally knocks out. It's like, I don't know what's
Listen,
happening.
you've
You're
never
getting
heard of
drunk off
chocolate
fucking
wasted?
chocolate milk,
You never
man.
heard of chocolate wasted? We don't know if Chris is a diabetic. Maybe they need insulin.
Chalky
I feel like
milk.
we would know by now.
Chucky milk. I don't know. I don't know. I've definitely
I
seen a
feel like we
theory.
would know by now since Tutorial likes to bake her pies all the fucking time, and she made us pancakes for church.
God, that's so much sugar. Oh, and the punch.
Yes.
I didn't even put two and two together.
Yes.
Oh, Chris, your
Pray to
teeth.
God. And
Chalky
But
we
I just,
milk.
only go into the bathroom to wash our hands too. We never brush our teeth.
Oh, can I say that I adore quote unquote the old man with all of my heart
Oh,
and all of
Gerson?
my
Oh
yeah.
my
being. Gerson
God,
is
he's the
he
best
has become
thing.
my favorite. He's become my everything, everything. I'm so happy I was never spoiled for him.
Yes,
Honestly,
Everything
me
no.
has
Me
too.
too.
brought me
Me too.
joy
I
and wonder.
because I literally when I
Okay,
first saw him, I was like, wait, is this the same turtle from Undertale? Like, because I
yes,
was
it
thinking, yeah,
is.
no,
Oh,
yeah.
It is.
And then I
I
saw
And
the
love
yeah.
him.
oh my God. I Here's a little funny thing. So, chapter 3 secret boss, Roaring Knight. Horrible, right? I actually there was a point where I tried to fight the Roaring Knight multiple times and I'm just like, okay, I need to go to chapter 4. I need to know what happens next. Yada yada yada. So, I go to chapter 4. Spoiler alert, Gerson is also the secret boss, but it's very interesting how you fight
It's so
him.
he's so different. I
You
love him
you
so much.
you don't fight him in order to kill him or beat him like you would like Spamton or Jevil or even the Roaring Knight. You fight him as Susie in order to kind of learn the game itself while he kind of explains things to Susie about his book, The Lord of the Hammer, and how it's kind of unfinished. And it's such a magical fight. God damn, was it hard, but at the same time, it was hard in a fun way of like, wow, this is I not only am I glad that Susie has this type of relationship with someone, like a mentor of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also glad that it also felt like I was being mentored at the same time. It wasn't just Susie. And it was very fun, and Gerson was just really good at it. And um, after I beat that fight and went through the rest of chapter 4, honestly, the rest of chapter 4, because of that fight, was such a breeze. It just felt so nice because I knew how to
Mm-hmm.
dodge now. I knew how to kind of like read the fights and
So,
whatnot. I went back to chapter 3.
uh-huh.
I kid you not. And I remember how frustrated I was with the night before doing chapter 4. I was so frustrated. I almost rage quit a couple of times. I went back to chapter 3 to fight the Roaring Knight. And I had such a swell time. I remember just being chill the entire time. I was getting anxious at certain points because I was like, I'm almost there, type of a thing. But once I finally got there, I was like, wow, Gerson really helped me fight the roaring.
He helped us. He
So
did his
bullshit.
job.
This is so bullshit.
The beautiful man in him.
And it was so funny. But so like yeah, no, I beat the roaring knight because Gerson helped me fight.
So Peepaw believed in you.
People believed in me so much.
So I have
I
a
can go
question.
back in
As
time
someone who
and
didn't
fight
play
the
the
roaring knight.
as someone who didn't play the
Yes.
game, I have a question for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Which was harder, the water cooler or Gerson?
Gerson.
Gerson. Gerson
Water
hands
cooler is
down.
not that
I have
difficult
seen
once you kind of understand what
No.
you're
the
doing.
the guy I watched struggled with that damn water cooler so bad, and then one shot the Gerson fight. So I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I think that's just that
Honestly,
guy.
yeah, honestly, for me, the water cooler was just annoying because I would have to use a lot of items in order to heal because the water cooler did a lot of damage. But I mean, no, it was fine. Like I didn't die to the water cooler. Um, Gerson, I died to a lot.
Oh yeah, I did a lot. I felt so powerful because it was literally at one point I was like, okay, I gotta. This is the last one. I gotta stop, and then I fucking did, and I was so relieved. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Fucking
No,
yeah.
I think hilariously, Gerson's fight was so hard for me because it reminded me so much of Undertale Undyne's fight, and I remember the anxiety I had with the like Undyne's fight in Undertale that it kind of came back to me because I was like, oh my god, don't trick me like Undyne did. I feel like honestly, it really reminded me specifically of Undyne's genocide fight because Undyne's genocide fight compared to the pacifist route is so different. So different. And the genocide route is just so agonizing. So I think once the arrows started coming at me and I had to like move the little cursor around the heart, I kind of was transported back. So I think that's why I had a worse time with the Gerson fight. Um
Mhm.
because I was like, "Don't you play tricks on me." But hilariously enough, because I was in my head about that of like, "Oh my god, Gerson's going to trick me" type of a thing, which there are a couple of parts where Gerson does in the fight, but it has nothing to do with like the actual cursors or the arrows coming at you per se like Undyne does in Undertale. Um I feel like me getting in my head about it was what tripped me up and was what Gerson was trying to teach you not to do. So again, the Gerson fight helped me beat the Roaring Knight. But no, I've thoroughly loved Gerson as a character, and I'm so deeply sad and so happy at the same time that I kind of called it on on what Gerson was, because Gerson is dead in
Yeah.
the Lightner world.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you about this, Morgan, when we both didn't finish chapter 4 at the time. And I was so sad I was right. I
Hmm.
was so deeply sad I was right
Yeah.
about what he was in the overworld. Because I had a feeling of like, oh my god, it has to be because the graveyard is not connected to the church because you don't see any of the other ghosts from the graveyard.
Hmm.
And like the section is so deliberately like you have to go to a different section in the overworld in order to go to the graveyard. Plus, like you enter the church, not the graveyard, to get into the dark world. And I was like, I'm sad.
It's very sad. He's the only one who can't come with us to the
Yeah.
fucking. Ugh. It's so sad. Fucking hell.
But I'm so glad
I
that
love
Susie
him.
said right to Alvin.
Mm-hmm. Ugh.
That was really sweet.
The babies.
But anyway, I guess if you don't know what we're talking about, Gerson, I won't spoil what, I guess, but Gerson is an item in the
Yeah.
church.
It's all stuff you can learn because if you know anything, if you read the lore in there about monster funerals, you'll
Yes.
understand exactly what he's supposed to be and how he got there.
Oh, can I talk about the fucking monster in the fucking library on the second floor? Because
Jesus Christ, that guy.
he's starting to freak me out.
Wait,
No,
which
he's
one? Which
totally.
which
He's
one?
having a fucking mental breakdown, man.
Yes, and I wonder if it has anything to okay, so I know that
Okay, hold on. Which one?
Deltarune
Can you remind?
and
Like, can you describe the
I
monster to me?
I'll get the picture, hold
You
on.
know the big old hunched over bird that blocks your way in the library so you can't see all the books, but he keeps telling you how the books are on the top floor, so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one.
he's the guy that's creeping us out. So
Oh.
the thing is with the Deltarune library bird, not Birdly, don't show me Birdly, thank you. The thing with that guy though, I know that Deltarune and Undertale are
Oh,
not
this
connected in
guy.
terms of
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, that
in
fucker.
terms of in terms of story, I know they're not connected. Um, but again, Toby has confirmed that it is a parallel universe. I don't know what his deal is, but I'm starting to get creeped out because
Well,
I
here's
know
what's
in
funny.
Undertale there's a similar shape to him where he's all grayed out and he talks about kind of like I don't remember what exactly he talks about in Undertale, but I know it has something to do with like Gaster and like the True Lab and shit like
Mm-hmm.
that, which again is crazy because the one of the chapters is confirmed to be called True Lab, and I think that's the final chapter.
It is the
And
final
so I
chapter.
don't know what's happening.
But no, what I think is really funny is one, Toby Fox is a genius. I don't care what people say. I've seen some people be like, he just got lucky. No, because
Yeah.
he has been so particular about his wording, his code, and so many other things that, because
Mhm.
with what you said, he never said it was a parallel universe. He said it was a parallel story. And that's
Yeah.
what I think is really interesting, because why wouldn't you
Oh,
just say it's a parallel universe? Why would you say it's a parallel story?
interesting.
So I have a funny joke. There's
Uh
so
huh.
many jokes. I won't. I don't. I'll get into it because I'm the only one who's gonna understand. There's maybe only half the people here are gonna understand it. When you know about Homestuck, there's so many things about that about Deltarune that is so funny.
Mhm.
Because conceptually there's a lot of parallels because like I remember some people being like, what does it mean by parallel story? Are these happening at the same time? Are they like what's going on with that? People were like, no, 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 guys, you don't understand. Deltarune's the pre-scratch version of Undertale, guys, which is a Homestuck reference. And I'm like, and considering I think Undertale was made in fucking Andrew Hussy's basement, I think it would make sense that
Well,
there's
that
some
was
Yeah.
it too. Well, that was it too.
fucking
It's
callbacks.
it's it's come out that this was the original game he wanted to make first, but he never made a
Yeah.
game before, so he made it's something that I think is hilarious is his beta test game was Undertale. His
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, which is also something I think is funny because I've seen people be like, "Oh, how's it going to hold up?" And I'm like, I personally think Deltarune's going to get more popular than Undertale, only
I think
Oh yeah.
because
Deltarune's feeling like a more complete experience in terms of just gameplay and
yeah,
stuff.
that's what
Mhm.
I mean. Because like, I think it's been a while since anybody's actually played Undertale. Because I'm not trying to say
Yeah.
it to be a snob. I played it recently. I recently replayed Undertale. You can finish the entire game in less than 4 hours. You can do it in a
Yeah.
sitting, pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And honestly, I hate to be this way, but like I was going to play Undertale after I finished Deltarune because I was still in the mood of like, oh, I want to play, but I also don't want to play Deltarune all over again and have to go through the Jevil Spamton Roaring Night fight all over again. Um, but I was going to play not Deltarune, Undertale, and then I was like, but Undertale doesn't have the same mechanics as
yeah.
Mhm.
Deltarune. So I was like, "Oh, no, I can't do that." Also, I just don't wanna be tempted to be like, "Haha, I could do genocide," and I'm like, "Ken, no, you would hate yourself." 'Cause it's
Listen,
worse.
just
Like,
because you've done the genocide
I
route, right?
I have once, like back in 2015, 2016. Back in 2016, I did the genocide route and I felt accomplished yet unsatisfied. Which I feel like in a parallel, that's kind of how Deltarune is going to be in terms of the Snowgrave route. I feel like if you do the Snowgrave route and do the other things that would be considered the quote unquote real weird route, you're going to get an ending and feel accomplished yet unsatisfied because morally you know what you're doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Because that's really how I felt with the genocide uh in Undertale with genocide route. I'm not saying that Snowgrave is genocide. I'm just saying that there's parallels to it of like,
It's still fucking horrible.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
I remember my first time playing through the genocide route. I felt like after Sans fight, I had to take a minute to breathe because goddamn was that fight hard. I in the recent years, like maybe the past 3 years or so, I remember trying to do the genocide route again. I completely forgot about Undyne's fight, to be honest. Like I completely forgot about it to the point where I feel like I repressed that memory because Undyne's fight was so hard. Um, like it was kind of comparable to Sans's, but at the same time, kind of not really. Um, I'm sure if I were to play Undertale again and if I were to play Genocide Route, I would probably say Sans is still the hardest out of anything that Toby has made. Um, so far, I will say. Preface, so far.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I
And
don't
I
think that
also,
these next
I
3
mean,
chapters are
granted, I
going to be
also think
easy.
that there's like, I don't think people need to be comparing. They're both games that have their own
No,
unique experiences, and I think that, I think it's in some ways it's not healthy to be like comparing people's stuff of being like, well, which one do we think
no.
is better and more popular? It's like, well, that's not really the point. Like the
Hmm.
point
I'm
is
not
that we have
saying
two
which one's
wonderful games.
better.
No, I'm not talking about you. I just mean people in general asking the question.
No, that's true. Because
Because
I have, I have, I have.
if I'm sharing opinions, if there's any fight that's the best one, it's the Gerson fight in
Person's fight is
Deltarune.
so fucking
Well,
good.
all
It's
right.
so
I,
good.
That or Queen's fight. I'm gonna be honest, because Queen's fight
I.
was fun. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Michi.
I
Sorry.
want to talk. No, I want to talk about the bosses for a second. I want to talk
Yeah,
Hmm.
about
talk
the
about the
bosses,
bosses.
not just the secret bosses, just the bosses and how
Yeah,
drastically different they are.
they're all
Because
so dramatic, and I love them.
oh yeah, they're all so dramatic. They're great. I love them. I want to know what the fuck is gonna come next when we literally fight God at the end of Chapter 4.
Yeah.
Like, and also just I I I have so many questions. It's one of the which I know is like how it's supposed to be, and I'm
That is
excited.
that is very interesting. I didn't even think about that because, like, I think what you said just jogged something in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. But chapter 4 really is the first time we've had a serious final boss, while the secret boss is a silly hoo hoo ha ha. Like except for the like technically the other secret bosses can be silly hoo hoo ha ha's, but they have like serious meanings and stuff in the
Yeah,
other
exactly.
chapters.
Hmm.
Uh besides the Roaring Knight in chapter 3, that one's just serious. But the secret bosses in the other 3 chapters are more serious, while the main bosses of those 3 chapters are like silly hoo hoo ha ha's. But then they switched it up in chapter 4, where Gerson is serious, but also like making light of it, while the main boss of chapter 4 is like dead serious. That's very interesting to me. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where and like I sorry,
Because we
it's
can make jokes and stuff about how we're fighting God, but like in the reality of the story, it is very serious.
oh no,
Of
it's extremely serious. It's again, it's traumatizing, you know, and
yeah,
it's also because this is Susie's Dark World, right? It's the one she makes, or am I, or is that
um,
happen a little later? I'm trying to remember. Like
Which are we talking about specifically? Because Susie does make her own dark world, yes.
chapter four.
She
yes,
does talk about
that's
that
not when
concept,
we,
but
yeah, that's
it's a
not
bit
when we
different.
fight God.
Yeah. When we fight God, we've left her world and go to
That's
the real
okay.
world.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that okay, that's where I was confused for a second. But
Also,
yeah,
No, keep going. I'll save that for a minute.
Well, no, it's just a thing that's really interesting because it makes me think of the prophecy from the very very start of the game where they talk about the
Mhm.
Titans, and I'm like, was
Yeah.
that one of the Titans that we fought? Like,
It
because
was.
that's kind of
No,
what I
Yeah.
thought.
They
Yeah.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, they say that.
Oh, I must have missed that dialogue
Ralsei
line. Oops.
Ralsei
Rosie
says
says it.
this is
Okay.
a Titan. But it's
Skip.
And you
interesting
know
that
he
the
means
Roaring
business when he tells you in the Titan fight, attack it, attack it,
Yeah,
attack
yeah,
it,
yeah.
attack it.
Kill it, kill it, kill
Yeah,
it.
Like
when
I think
Ralsei
literally if you try to avoid attacking it, Rousey will tell you, like, what are you doing? Fucking attack
Yeah.
it.
yeah, which is a lot coming from
From
Ralsei.
Ralsei, yeah.
But
That's how you know shit's gotten real.
but no, the let's talk about the boss of chapter 4, kind of like what we're doing
Yeah,
right now.
let's talk like yeah,
Specifically,
let's talk about the
really
let's talk about the boss.
chapter 4. I or just like chapter 4 in general, because kind of where my mind is going is like I'm kind of like, okay, who created this dark world in the church? Because like we would think that it would be the Roaring Night, right? But
I think
if
it's Chris.
I'm not sure about that though, because like
My
I remember us like seeing chapter 3 whenever like chapter 2, it's obvious that Chris has did it. Like we can see it throughout all of chapter 3 too. And like how they were saying both in chapter 3 and chapter 4 how um Chris like it could really be Chris in chapter 4, who knows, but like
Well,
all throughout chapter 3 and chapter 4 they were talking about how dark worlds kind of like um pave in the it's kind of like what they cater more towards whoever makes the dark world, right?
yes.
So i'm I'm just like I don't know.
Well,
I think about chapter 3 and I see that Tina is very much catering to Chris, and so is all of the other guys within chapter 3. But in chapter 4, I'm just like seeing that Susie made a dark fountain in chapter 4 and that Gerson did not show up, even though Gerson was a huge part for Susie. Was Gerson really a huge part for Chris in their life growing up?
I
Or
don't
is
think
it
that's
Alvin that
the
created the dark
point.
fountain?
Well, here's my thing. The reason why I think it has to be Chris is because we've now established through Susie that the Dark Worlds drastically look different, even down to their colors when you
Yeah.
make a different one. So why is it that if someone else made a Dark World and not Chris, why do all of them have matching colors? Because we know for sure at least one Dark World that Chris for sure made. And all of the other Dark Worlds, other than the ones Susie has made, have had the same color palette to it, the same color palette and a similar sort of vibe to it in that sort of regard. Um, I don't, and here's my thing, they're made to sort of serve the people. I don't think serve necessarily has to mean the dark world caters to them in a positive way. I think it might come more from a subconscious thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how it's made, because if realistically like Tenna made that, and sure Tenna's obsessed with Chris in that regard, that comes more from personal things. But here's the thing, in chapter 2 Queen was obsessed with Noelle didn't make that dark world as far
True.
as we know, unless she somehow
No,
magically did by
that is true.
accident.
Because yeah, because Noelle and Berdley were just in the computer lab when it happened, right? That was the whole point.
Yeah, they were mostly just in there when it happened. Possibly it was staged to have them actually be in there because of reasons, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the or they just entered there because they were going to the computer lab anyway. But like Queen was specifically obsessed with Noelle because of her search history. As far as we're aware, I mean, unless we're gonna get massive plot twist that Noelle was somehow convinced to make a dark world, um, that was so. I don't know if serving them is necessarily in a way of like we're obsessed with you. I think it possibly has a little bit more to do with just like I think they're more made around a person's subconscious. It's made more for like their convenience as a person over like the characters themselves being important to the person.
Mm-hmm.
Um because I mean hypothetically Queen is not necessarily specifically important to Chris either. And there's also characters. I mean, hell, in fact, honestly, even beyond that, Tenna wasn't just obsessed with Chris. Tenna was also obsessed with Toriel. So
Yeah,
there's that
yeah.
whole angle as well. And in general, I think Tenna's more of just a lonely guy who's just really desperately clinging to the last two people in his life, basically.
I mean, thinking about that could also make sense concerning that Queen is technically a mother figure for Lancer. So
Yeah.
Chris obviously knows Noelle's relationship with her own mother. Maybe Queen was obsessed with Noelle because in Chris's subconscious, Chris knows this about Noelle
Yeah.
and wants her to have a positive mother figure. And in chapter 3, it could make sense on why Tina and Toriel, like Tina is obsessed with Chris and Toriel because maybe I honestly have a huge feeling that I know that the TV was very prevalent for the entire family, but that could be it. Like Tina is obsessed with bringing them back together of like wants their family back together type of a thing.
Yeah.
And I guess that Gerson would be in chapter 4 helping Susie because Chris cares a lot about Susie. And the
Yeah.
reason why we did the chapter 4 secret boss with Susie instead of Chris, even though Susie was like, help me, Chris, type of a thing. It was mostly directly for Susie because Chris cares a lot about Susie. It's
Yeah.
prevalent in chapter 3 and 4. So
I
I
think that
guess
would
that
make
makes
sense.
sense.
Because I think
But I'm
this
also
is.
like, damn, Chris, you fucking fast.
Yeah. No, Chris is a
where,
fucking
where in
monster,
the fuck?
man.
Where in the fuck did you find the time to go from Noelle's house to the church in order to make these dark worlds? What the fuck, man?
Chris,
Well,
Chris. I mean,
okay, is that
granted,
something else we can talk
fucking
about? Like, listen, what the fuck is going on with Chris? All right, because the second that they rip us out or we leave,
They're
they
fucking
they be,
feral.
they become like a goblin. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, what's the one where they like crawl out from under Dez's bed and shit?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Which,
That's in
granted,
chapter
is
4.
partly positive. I think there's a combination of both the fact that, I think Chris is very robotic when we control them. I think they're pretty,
Mhm.
like, we're basically puppeting their vessel and making them just do direct actions, which is my favorite interpretation of them just being very, like,
mm-hmm.
very robotic, very just direct in how they behave. But also the fact that it's been alluded to. I've had this, I mean, I've assumed this for a long time, but like, I doubt Chris can survive without us. Like, I think that Chris is dying actively whenever we're
No,
not possessing them.
that's what I think too. Cause
Which is so bizarre to me, which comes to my topic of choice.
Mhm.
Flips page to the last fucking note I put uh in my fucking notes
Is it
last
really
night.
your last note?
It's literally my last note. It starred and everything. It says, "Who the fuck are we?" I think this question plays a vital role in the game. Like
Well,
in
what I
terms of like who are we in terms of the soul? What are we? Like are we just Chris's soul? But like it's interesting to me how Chris has obviously had a life before the events of this game
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
where they are in control of themselves. Why now is it that we are in control of them? What the fuck happened for that to
Well,
happen?
it's also a
Who
thing
Mhm.
are
too.
we?
It's also a thing too where like at the start of the game, at the very start when we make our vessel, like
Yeah,
literally I had to find this to make sure. One of the gift options is literally voice. Like, look at that.
which I chose because I want Chris to have a voice, but wah, wah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
no, this is what I Who
No,
the
yeah.
fuck are we?
I think it's a lot to do. There's so many complicated things that we still need to learn in regards to a lot of the story going on. Because there's obviously, oh God, I'm on the verge of just going on a very like a long 30-minute tangent about the prophecy and all of that.
Yeah.
As well as honestly the Roaring Night and all of that as well. I guess I could start with the Roaring Night because I think that's the thing. So
I
like,
have like a lot of notes for the Roaring Night if we're okay with
yeah, do we
me
want
just
to do that or do we
reading
have
it out.
another thing we want to talk about first? Because I have thoughts.
I mean, again, we don't have to go in order with our stuff if we want to just
Okay.
bounce around. That's kind of what the point
Yeah.
of this is. So,
I'm like, Because
Well, yeah.
I think very firmly, very confidently. I thought this. I know it. I know it's all over Twitter. So if people wanted to think that Twitter's influenced me, I came to this conclusion on my own when I played it the first time. I think the Roaring Knight might be Des.
Me too.
No,
Me
that's what I
too.
think. I think the
Walks
Roaring Knight
around
is Des.
room.
No, I think it's Des because also no, I back
So,
when I played chapter 1 and 2 with you guys, I never looked into
mhm.
the game code because this is one of those ARG elements
Yes,
to it that
yes,
people have talked
yes.
about.
Okay.
There's some. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I'm just like I literally have a whole like page that I wrote down on why I think it's certain people. If we're okay with just me reading it and then
I'm
going
fine with
off of
that, and we'll just
that.
bounce
Okay.
off
Sure.
it. I'm fine with that.
So I know that so I have like watched just to preface, I have watched like theory videos and whatnot about this. But I so this is kind of why I'm like I feel like there's two possibilities, but I'm personally leaning Des. Um,
Hmm.
but so this is kind of where I go with that. So this is what I put. Uh, First of all, clearly the knight and Chris are either working together or the knight simply knows Chris. Like it's very evident that they know each other, and like you could see it in chapter 3. If you do beat the Roaring Knight, like right before the final like power move that the Roaring Knight like deals to Chris and the rest of the team, Chris like kind of coughs and the Roaring Knight literally tilts its head and is just like, "Huh?" As if Chris is like, "Okay, speed up this fucking fight. Like we got to end this." So the
Yeah. Get
Roaring
on with
Knight,
it.
yeah, the Roaring Knight does their final move and stuff, and after that, Susie's like, "Oh my god, we actually beat it, blah 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 blah." They clash, Susie and the Roaring Knight clash, the little shadow crystal falls off the sword or whatever, and Susie gets cocky, and Susie and Ralsei are fucking like slashed basically, and critically so. But whenever the Roaring Knight goes up to Chris, it's kind of like I've seen this with my own eyes. I've seen it on videos and stuff like that. It literally looks like the Roaring Knight is helping Chris kneel down. It literally looks like the Roaring Knight is knighting Chris. I don't know if that was the implication, but like
That's how I took it.
yeah,
Hmm.
and Chris doesn't get any damage. They just act like they've been hit and are down. But anyway, that's kind of my first point, but
Well,
then I go into the notes of why I think the two possibilities who the Roaring Knight is.
okay. Well,
Um,
I just want to say real quick, like why I
yeah,
think it's Des, real quick, as
yeah,
well. Is
sorry.
no, because I want to hear your things too. Again, I want to do this. I just while we're on Des, I wanted to say this real quick.
Mhm.
This will go into something I'm sure we're going to talk about later with songs from Undertale coming back in an odd way with this and
Yeah.
going back to the parallel stories thing. Is I've seen a lot of people theorize that because the final true boss in Undertale, the song is his theme. I've seen a lot of
Mhm.
people saying that the song is going to be her theme for this one.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
That's what
That's
I wanted to
very
say on Des because it would make a lot of sense.
I
that's very
actually,
interesting because I have something on
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
I have
Morgan. Yeah.
something about the songs too. I think that I've picked up as well from what I've seen other people talk
Hmm.
about.
Mhm.
Um, because I believe the song that plays when you fight the Roaring Knight, unless I'm mixing up with something else, I believe is called "Raise Up Your Bat." I
It is
think.
called Raise Up Your Bat. It is called Raise
Yes,
Up Your
which
Bat.
was interesting
Mhm.
when we've established that Des was an extremely athletic, had a lot of sports
Yeah,
gear
Des
in her
loved
Yeah.
room.
baseball.
Yeah, and I think there's even a dialogue in the Roaring Knight fight of like you can feel the back, like you can feel something at the back of your head or something like that, and there's probably a bit of an implication that Des was a bit of a roughhouser and
Yeah.
possibly might have bonked Chris on the back of the head a couple
Hmm.
times. Um,
So so the song with the Roaring Knight is not Raise Up Your Bat. That's the
hmm.
mini game where you're doing the Guitar Hero stuff. That's
Oh,
Raise
I
Up Your
see.
Bat.
Okay.
Oh, whoops.
The
Okay.
song when you're fighting the Roaring Knight is Black Knife. That's the name of the song.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
However, I still have something on that shit. So I'll talk about that in a minute
All
though.
right, so who's your next theory? Do you still think it's the
So
holiday? Because I
oh
think.
well, yeah, no, go ahead, ask your thing.
Oh, I was gonna say. I'm wondering if your other ideas of who the knight is it's either Rudy or Carol.
It's gotta
It
be a holiday because
has to be a
Like
it's
it
holiday.
got
has to be a
antlers.
holiday. That's what I'm saying. It has to be.
They're pretty particular about the whole antler business.
Yeah.
Like, I
First
don't
of
think they
all,
just give it antlers for no reason.
yeah. First of all, I don't think it's Rudy. There's no fucking way you can tell me that a man who is hospitalized can fucking run through town, do all the shit in the Darkner world, and then run through town to go to the bunker at the end of chapter 3.
He went to
You
church.
can't. I mean, yes, but like
Gerson's dead.
he he had to go back to the hospital right after church. He's hospitalized.
Yeah.
Um, so no, it can't be Rudy. I don't think it's Rudy. There's no
Okay.
fucking way. Anyway, so I think there are two possibilities on who the Roaring Knight is. It's either Carol or Des. The reason why I say Carol is it could be that the knight it she could be the knight considering she was presumably the one on the phone with Chris at the holidays house, considering she was the one who shown up when Chris called to tell her that the guitar was taken by Susie. That and she's the one who has the katana in the kitchen, which is very reminiscent of the sword that the Roaring Knight uses in the battle. However, I'll get to that in a minute as well because there's notes on that. But also, we also don't officially know if the knight is the one that has been calling Chris. So that's kind of like what makes me kind of like I don't know if
Hmm.
Carol could be a good candidate for the Roaring Knight because I do believe that whatever dark text there is coming out of Chris's phone, I do believe that it might be Carol, but we also don't know if that dark text is the Roaring Knight because the Roaring Knight never talks when you're in the
Hmm.
Darkner world. So I kind of doubt that the same person that's on the phone with Chris is the Roaring Knight.
Yeah.
Why I think it's Des though, and I have a lot more notes on this. I think it could be Des considering first of all, Toby likes to tell story with music. So about the music, since we were talking about that, Lost Girl is the song that is in reference to Des. There is a website that is basically I think it's uh Deltarune fucking slash des. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So there is a website that is deltarune.com/des, and it shows you the red guitar that you find in Des's room. This was found like way before chapter 3 and 4 came about. I think it was on the official Deltarune website. People found it, and literally when you click on the guitar, it starts to play Lost Girl from chapter 2. Lost Girl is a song that is played whenever you and Noelle are going throughout Cyber City, and Noelle starts talking about her sister, and you and your brother, you Chris and your brother
Yeah. Yeah.
Azrael. Um, and like there's this hint that Noel's sister is missing and stuff like that. There's all kinds of uh like what is it called? Like memorabilia and stuff about like December 25th in Noel's room
Meet my
because she's
secret
trying to
cousin.
search.
Stop.
It's
But
topical.
yeah, uh but she's trying to search up in the search engines like lost December holiday type of a thing, and it keeps showing up as Christmas.
Yeah, December 25th. Yeah.
Um, so there's all these like things about December 25th. Um, but anyway, going about that, uh, Lost Girl, the song only plays when Des is discussed or involved. I had to do my research last night to see if this was true, but I have like seen fan theories as well as just like people comment about how the Black Knife, the song from uh the Roaring Night fight and Lost, like there's a motif of Lost Girl in Black Knife. And
Okay.
um I had to do my research and stuff, and I will say there is a bit of a stretch until you get to like section B of the fucking what is it called? Sheet music for Black Knife. Um because section B of Black Knife has a better like potentiality for the motif of Lost Girl.
Mhm.
So there are similar like notes and stuff that are played um with Black Knife and Lost Girl. But there's even more to the whole thing about uh Des possibly being the not the Black Knight, the Roaring Knight for me, because there are these things in the code itself where it's unused dialogue for the game. And I have found it myself last night. I can't find the rest of it, but I have found this. Not save image, copy image. Um, no, not here. I need to do it here. So the last one for people at home, I'm sending it to Morgan Michi. But
Mm-hmm.
the last one is my own screenshot that I took last night from the code in the game. But it's basically like this is what the code kind of says. Where am I? Hello? Anyone? Is anyone out there? Someone. Anyone? Can anyone hear me? It's dark. It's so dark here. Someone. Anyone. If you can hear me, say something, please. No one can hear me, can they? I guess not. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can hear myself. It's so quiet here. And yet, sometimes, I swear I hear something. Something like scratching. So that's what is hidden in the code. I got the first half from the chapter one, like unused dialogue. I don't know where the rest of the dialogue is. I think it's in like chapter two, like unused dialogue, but I don't know exactly where to find it. I am not a coder, so I don't know how to find these things. Anyway, I have seen a lot of people talk about how this is like how they think this is Des, and I feel like it would make sense because if she is the lost girl, quote unquote, the song that keeps playing when she is mentioned or is discussed,
Mm-hmm.
um, this sounds exactly like somebody who is lost, who doesn't know where they are. So
Mhm.
if this is a motif to Lost Girl, considering that they have also talked about how Asgore fucking was kicked out of the police force because of some incident that happened. Des is nowhere to be found. Noelle keeps trying to search for December Holiday. I feel like this is a good connection for Des,
Mhm.
but I also think that somehow she is so far into the dark world that she's not like I don't know what it would be exactly. I just feel like she's so far deep into the dark world that she doesn't understand that she is trapped within the Roaring Night because the Roaring Night is like this whole blackness and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
because we
don't
also
know.
we don't have a date of how long she's been missing, right? We just know it's been a
Right.
while. It's definitely been
Yeah.
Mhm.
a while. Like,
Yeah. And I just don't know what to make of that specifically, but it would make sense why they seem to it would make sense why the Roaring Knight would do things a little idly almost like as if it's not terribly calculated because I don't think that the Roaring Knight obviously the Roaring Knight didn't create these dark worlds and stuff like that, but like
Yeah.
the way
I
that they
think
show up, it's kind of like nonchalantly, like they're kind of there but doing things, but it's because they're being told to do
yeah,
things.
yeah,
yeah.
Morgan.
I think there's a big strategy happening where, because obviously, I think that there's a really interesting kind of almost like there's a dramatic irony happening where we
Mhm.
have learned that the knight, quote unquote, who is making these dark worlds is very likely Chris. Chris has at least made one of them, if not all of the ones that we've played through so far.
Mhm.
So Chris has been making them, but then they introduced the Roaring Knight, and it's a really genius twist, because for the characters it's a twist because, oh my god, that's the knight who's been making these dark worlds. For us it's like, wait, that's the Roaring Knight? Wait, I thought Chris was the Roaring
Yeah, I
Knight.
thought Chris was
What?
the
He's
knight.
And
Yeah,
like,
making
exactly.
he's been
Yeah.
making
it was
the Dark
it was a
World.
really crazy smart thing. I don't think that the Roaring Knight is the what I don't think they're making the Dark Worlds like the characters think, but I almost think that the plot here that's happening is that Chris is making the Dark Worlds while the Roaring Knight is supposed to be the one who's doing a second fountain and unleashing the Titans.
Right.
I think that's almost what the game is here, almost. Like for them, for whoever's doing this and whoever's in the bunker.
Yeah,
And I
I
find it very
really
interesting.
I really think that the Roaring Knight is very much a puppet because there's this motif about puppets being on
The,
strings
the the
this
puppet
entire
motif is
game.
too strong. It,
Yeah.
it like
And
yeah,
the
like
and the fact that when the Roaring Knight does show up, they look kind of limp, as if they
Yeah, they
are.
also have holes in their hands, like where you would tie a
Yeah,
puppet string.
which is also very interesting because I wanted to add this too of in chapter 3, if you do the gumball machine and you put in 12/25, December 25th, you the music stops, the door is gone, and the only way you can exit is through into the gumball machine. I don't know if you 2 have
Oh,
seen
I have
this.
not seen it.
no, I have not.
So, yeah, so if you go into the gumball machine, you kind of go throughout this, like, red maze type of a thing, um, and essentially, it gets to the point where, uh, you're kinda traveling through this, I'll send y'all a screenshot of what the guide says, but, it's basically you are going throughout a red maze in order to find a smaller gumball machine, and whenever you approach it, it's like a small blue ball machine, um, and when you interact with it, it extracts like a small dark triangle that Chris is unable to hold, and it
Oh.
goes through their hand, which is interesting to me, and all the while, Lost Girl is being played in the background, as you walk through the maze. Um,
Okay.
so the dark triangle is, like, you're unable to hold it, it goes through their hand, and it fades to black, and then you are right outside of the room where the gumball machine was, and it's gone. Like, if you go back into the room, the gumball machine is gone. Like, it's lost forever. You can't interact with it anymore.
Mhm.
So, I'm wondering if it is a hint towards Des being the Roaring Knight, if because, like, the shard that you get from, like, the shadow crystal you get from the Roaring Knight, because it kinda looks like a dark triangle, or if it's just, like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like
Interesting.
it's obviously very intentional that Toby put this in, but, like, I don't know if it has any implications towards the Roaring Knight since the dark crystal or the shadow crystal that you do gain from the Roaring Knight, like, you see it come off. It does
Mhm.
look like a small triangle a small dark triangle once it comes off. So, I don't know. It's
Hmm.
just I wanna put that out there to see what you guys think.
Yeah. It's all a bunch of weird stuff going on.
Honestly. But anyway,
There's an
that
interesting thing too I thought I'd bring up. I don't know if it relates to the Roaring Knights specifically, but it's an
yeah.
interesting thing I saw. I did see this
Mhm.
online, and I found it myself. I tried to figure out where you can find it. Um, if you at towards the very end, right before I think going to fight the knight and all of that at the end of chapter 4, after, I believe if I'm remembering correctly, it is after Susie breaks the mural and that whole cutscene happens. If you walk all the way back to where you'd come before, after that heart-wrenching scene, and you press on the wall, I think it says it blocks the way, but there's some kind of dialogue there where it says that you reach your hand out into the darkness and something pushes, like a hand reaches out and pushes back on you and pushes you back.
What the
Wait,
fuck?
wait,
Yeah.
sorry, what?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Hang on.
What?
I'll find it. It's like again, it's something that I only would have ever thought even to look for if not for the screenshot or it was this comic. Someone made fan art of it. Chapter 4 pushes you back. Let me see if I can find it. It's a really, oh god, I need DeltaRune. It's a really fucking, if I can't find it, I'll like I'll go dig for the comic I found or something.
Yeah.
Also,
But
Michi and I found a fucked up. This is just because I know you're trying to find it. But Michi and I found a fucked up comic about what happens if you did the Snowgrave route
Yeah.
and to Noelle's room. Like
Mhm.
it's so fucked up. It's beautiful. The art is beautiful, but it's so.
God, I'm gonna have to dig through my likes or something.
Also,
I
sorry,
swear
for the huge
it's out
monologue
there.
about the Roaring Knight, but I'm
No,
like,
you're fine.
No, it's fine.
I
That's what
just
these are
got a
for, man.
vibe.
It's fine.
I think
Again,
there's also a really ominous thing. I mean, even in the
we
church
said it was gonna
afterwards,
be
where you could,
long. It's
yeah.
fine. People
This is,
listen. I love long videos that I can just listen to and go back to. We're fine.
yeah. No, I there's also a really fucked up thing. I mean, even in chapter 4, where it says that you can go towards a closet, and if you try, you can't open the closet, but it will say it's large enough to fit a person inside or whatever, and you can't. If you try to open it, Chris stops you and will not let you.
Oh,
Yep. So I would assume whoever the Roaring Knight is, whatever the Roaring Knight is, might be tied to that closet situation potentially.
oh
Um,
god,
yeah. So no, yeah, literally, if you walk up to a closet, it's a closet. It's large enough to fit like it either says a large person or just a person inside. If you press open, oh god, I'd have to go find the specific text, but it's fucked up. Chris will just not let you.
that's what I mean.
It's
It's
like I think
but that's what I mean. There's one of those times where and it's shown that Chris hurts themselves to not let us do something.
Oh, I think that specifically the dialogue choice you have is like either turn the handle or don't. If you press don't, you walk away. But if you press turn the handle, it says you turn the handle and do not open the door. Like
yeah,
the game will not
that's
let you.
right. I found that. I don't
Yeah.
remember where was that.
It's in the church after the Dark
It's
World
in
when
the
you go into
church.
like
Yeah.
the
It's
decimated church after all of the events. If you walk up to the door at the very back by the
Oh
priest's stand.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
It's no, yeah. I'm like that to me is super that haunts me because I know there's something in there. I know there's some fucked
I'm
up
sure
shit in there.
something. Well, I'm sure something happened because we think back to when we're out of Chris's body. There's options of like stuff you can like spy on, and there's like an Asgore option where you can find Asgore.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking at a conspiracy board of some type, and he literally says something like, you know, I'm so like it's something along the lines like I'm so close. She'll have to believe me this time. They're gonna have to believe me. You
Yeah.
know, like yada yada yada, and
I
it's like
believe it even references if we're talking about the one where it's in the holiday
it's
house.
in the holiday house. It's in the
Yeah,
holiday
I
house.
think it also references that he might be holding a shadow crystal.
That would make a lot of sense.
In it, I think it says something about like I think he starts talking about a crystal or something. Just something in the dialogue references or alludes to the fact that he might be holding a shadow crystal in his hand.
Yeah,
Which
because
is why I have a strong theory that I think he's also in on everything. I think
Yeah.
Asgore might also be in on everything along with like Carol and stuff. And part of that comes also with like okay, like for like just to rewind a little bit to it and all that.
yeah,
We know that whether or not Carol was the one we were talking with on the phone or that Chris was talking with on the phone, we know that Carol is probably in on all of this. Carol
Yes.
also has one of the 3 codes for the secret bunker on on Dess's guitar,
yeah.
right? We know that. The symbols were, of course, a pine tree, reference to the holidays because holidays, Christmas, all of that. One of them is a police badge. I think there's a lot of the game itself has the thought of like that must be referencing to Undyne because she's a police officer.
No.
However, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that's a reference to Asgore, who used to be the police chief. I think he has another code. I think he has the second code for us, and I think he's in on it.
Because Napstablook does say that she does have something referring to the bunker, but she doesn't talk about it, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing that she's scared of. But that also doesn't mean that that is the real code to it.
Yeah,
Also,
and even then, it could have been something that Asgore basically she inherited by becoming police chief, essentially.
Yes.
yeah,
But either way,
I'm gonna find
Asgore
this
still
comic.
has that.
yeah. No, I think that's it because a lot of people play off Asgore. I actually really like Asgore as a character. He's not my favorite, but I really like him as a character.
No, I'm very intrigued by him.
Because
He drives me insane, but like I think he's a really intriguing character in
I think
Deltarune.
he is. Because like another thing too is like, and I think this is a comparison as well. Is we don't know Asgore and Toriel as much as we do in Undertale. And I
No.
think that's a big
Mm-hmm.
important thing there. Like again, you know, in Undertale, you know, Asgore seems like he's this nice, gentle guy and all this stuff, but he's the only character besides his son that destroys the mercy button. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
one of those things. Like that's the big plot twist of his fight when you're doing that in Undertale. And
Like, I'm so sorry, but also no mercy.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm so sorry, but you can't you cannot spare me, kind of a thing. You know,
God, I
and
think. Go ahead, sorry.
no. But what I'm saying with that too is like again, he's a police chief, and also something I think is really just an interesting concept that I feel goes back to all of this is how the fuck did they get Chris? Because there's no other humans around. You know what I mean? Like they talk about it. Chris is the only human around, and so the reason why I bring this up is, does the concept of a boss monster still exist? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because that was such a big thing with that, was there like there's normal monsters and there's boss monsters and stuff like that. And so that's something I wonder as well. Is it, you know,
Yeah.
I hope I'm making
I'm gonna
sense with
find this
my
goddamn
thing, because like I think Asgore is also in on it. I think it's one of those. I think something obviously really fucked up happened to Des, and it was one of those things of, how do we explain this to people? Like we can't.
Twitter has this theory that I think it's mostly a meme,
Uh-huh.
I think, but Twitter is so latched on the idea of that Asgore hit Des with his car. Like,
Oh, I've seen that.
no.
No, I've
that
seen
is
that.
the
I've seen.
fucking
I've
theory
seen.
that
I have
everyone is
seen.
latched onto.
Yeah, I have seen the deer in headlights theory, and I'm sitting here like, guys.
Which I don't think there's a lot of. I think there is merit to it because of the fact that he did lose his position as police chief. Des has been missing, so I do think that there is some merit to that theory. But also the fucking absolute absurd amount of memes.
Well, he did, but it also seems like, at least the way everybody talks about it, he chose to like quit. He didn't like, at least from what it seems like, because even Undyne's like, I really wish he'd come back to the Force.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if you're forcibly retired, your buddies aren't going to be like, I hope they apply again. Like,
Yeah, true. So I'm like, I have no idea what could have happened with all of that. And again, I think there's a whole conspiracy going on here. There's a whole conspiracy. And I mean, it's interesting because I know a lot of people's jump, like, because the third code, obviously, the third code has the DeltaRune symbol next to
Yeah.
it. So I know a lot of people's jump is obviously to did I not, I swear to God, if I didn't like this comic, I'm gonna lose my mind. But like a lot of people have referenced the what's his nuts, the priest at the church.
yeah, the
Okay.
priest guy. Yeah.
Yeah, which I understand that. I don't think that's necessarily an incorrect thought. However, my thought, and this is a bit of a weird one, and maybe people will disagree. I don't think it is, and my reason for it is a bit more in like a meta way, because he doesn't have a talk sprite. He doesn't have a face icon. And it would feel a bit strange if one of your main kind of, I mean, Carol is potentially a big main antagonist here for us, the player, and possibly Asgore is. So why does one of these people who might be very important to our plot doesn't even have a talk sprite?
Yeah.
That feels a bit, so that to me kind of jumps out where I'm like, I don't know. Though I do also have to point out, where else you can find the DeltaRune symbol in town? On the school.
Yeah, it's on the school.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
on our
realistically. Yeah, it's on our
It's
house.
also on our house. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that DeltaRune symbol is either going to reference whoever the angel is supposedly supposed to be, or it could be a reference to a different location that isn't the church.
And it could just be a code that Chris has that we don't have access to.
It's true. It could just be whatever Chris has. I swear to God, did I not fucking like this tweet? Did I see this really awesome banger comic that inspired me to go search for this secret, and then I fucking didn't like the tweet? I'm gonna lose
I've done that.
my mind.
No, I've done that. I've
I'm
definitely
gonna find
done
it.
that.
I'm still scrolling. I don't think I'm still in the DeltaRune era. I think maybe, possibly. If I'm gonna find it, because I'm trying to look it up and it's hard. It's not coming up correctly with the keywords I'm putting in there. But I want to find it. It's because I swear it's really fascinating, and it gave me chills.
fucking anyway.
Well, yeah, because if that was me, if I was like, all right, it's dark, I'm gonna reach out, and I just feel a hand go, no, it's
like,
okay.
no, I'm gonna push
no.
you back. Like what? Like, who was that? Was that me? Help! And then it doesn't happen again. You just clicking
Also,
on it.
well,
And
I
it's
think
just
another
like,
thing
you
that's
can't go
important
back.
is, why did we see an amalgamate when they talk about him? Remember? Because, like, we see when Ralsei is talking about stuff, it's literally one of the amalgamates. I forgot which one it is, but it's
the Titans, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting here like, why are we seeing that, bud?
I don't think the amalgamate showed up whenever we were talking about Titans. That was talking about what it looks like when the darkness creates, you make up things in the dark.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it wasn't a reference to a Titan, it's actually a reference to what Darkeners are. So amalgamate is technically a Darkener, I think. Hypothetically.
Well, what if, okay, well, like, if that's the case, then what if that's what happened to Des?
Perhaps.
Because because in the genocide route of Undertale, I know we talked about, like, we shouldn't compare, but, like, it's, you know, we see Undyne get filled with determination, and that's why she goops at the end of her fight.
Oof.
Yeah.
Because they weren't meant to do that. Because, like, a theory I have that I think would tie into it, which is why I personally think when we're seeing the murals and we're hearing the story and you see Susie break it and Ralsei is like, why would you do that? And we don't see what it is. I think it implies that whatever it was that she broke is that she's going to have to absorb Chris's soul like Asriel did with Chara's and Undertale to, like, go bring him to rest.
Either way, they one of them has to die.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. It's going to be something like that.
Or both
like,
of them will.
yeah, like, you know, because also, what's the whole... Because the next chapter is literally the fair, right? That's what it is. It's Asriel's coming home. We're finally going to see Asriel, and we're going to do all that stuff, right?
I think so. Question mark? I think so. Something. Well, no, actually, I think the next chapter is going to be Asgore's flower shop. I'm pretty sure, based on everything I've read. Whether or not that's happening in concurrent with the festival or not, that I don't know. But
I mean, there are a bunch of fucking flowers and shit for the festival, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah, no, I think we're gonna go there because the thing itself is said all the time. It's like in the prophecy, it mentions during chapter 4. Both the prophecy itself, you can find an image that alludes to a jealous king, which is Asgore. It also in the Gerson fight, he starts talking about his book and his store and the legend that he based his book on.
Yeah.
And he alludes to the fact that the chapter after this one in the church is about like a garden born of jealousy or some kind of thing like that. So I'm pretty confident that that's where we're going next.
Well,
Yeehaw.
actually, that makes that would make sense, because what if we mentioned Toriel's date with Sans? Like,
that's what I think is gonna happen. I'm pretty sure that's where we're going.
Which is so crazy to think about, because y'all remember our last theory video about this?
The one a million years ago,
yeah.
yeah.
About how every Darkener world we're going to go into is some sort of escapism.
Yeah. Because if you think
Or
about it, it works.
Some type of escapism. Chapter 1, it was toys in like a classroom, so basically like playing to escape type of a thing. Second
Computer
chapter
lab,
was
going to the internet.
Computer lab, going to internet to escape. Chapter 3 was about being on TV, watching TV to escape. Chapter 4 was going to church, religion,
which a lot of people do. Yeah.
And then if this is a continuous thing, going to chapter 5, and we're going to Asgore's flower shop, gardening. People garden to escape too. They do hobbies to escape too. So I'm like, oh my god, were we right about that? That would be cool.
I think we are, because it's at least to me, it clearly seemed like Toriel and Sans were on a date. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
They were drunk. They were dancing together. Like, that's at least how I took it. Like,
yeah.
I can't find this stupid thing. I will find it eventually, and I'll lose my mind over it.
Watch, you're gonna DM it to me right when I'm like, I finally finished the editing, guys. It's rendered and good to go.
It's a great comic. I wish I could
no,
find it, 'cause
I
I want to
believe
credit
you.
the person I found, but it's and the scene itself as well, just the text in general. But whatever, I'll find it later, I guess.
Again, DeltaRune fan artist, Slurpee.
Just they rock it. Anyway, so
But yeah, I also think it's interesting because also if you look at Asgore's like back door at his flower shop too,
Yeah.
in I believe chapter 4, in general, you can see it says in there that like it's still too packed to go inside, but you can see like a conspiracy board in there, like a board with a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff pinned up, which is like I think there's gonna be some crazy shit we're gonna learn in chapter 5, and that's why I'm like I think we're about to learn what whole Asgore's whole fucking deal is right now.
Hmm.
Which
I think we're gonna find.
finally,
Yeah.
I want to know.
It's about fucking time.
Because again, it is
Um,
also one of those where again it's implied whatever this is. At least this is how I took it with context clues of the whole finished of the game being unfinished and everything is whatever that incident was that had Asgore have like retire, quit, whatever. Whatever it was with that incident, because even like I said, we bring up the dialogue that like he's like they'll have to believe me and stuff like that. I think that's what led to their divorce. You know what I mean? Because even
Oh yeah.
Asgore brings up as well something with like maybe we can all get along when Ralsei's here or something like because he clearly wants his family back. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
but what I also like because I've seen a lot of people be really upset about the Toriel drinking like thing, and what I think is important knowledge there is again it's to show that it's not that they don't care, it's that they're not really the best parents, they're flawed.
Yeah.
Which I've seen, like, it's really funny. I've seen people, like, really villainize Toriel for this. And, like, yeah, it is really fucked up that, your kid was out all night. But we've also seen through context clues, a lot of people just kind of let Chris do whatever Chris wants to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
Mhm.
you probably shouldn't do that with a teenager. Like, it...
I feel like a lot of what Chris does though is to get attention because they have to obviously fight for that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the ways. Like
Mhm.
a lot of kids in troubled like family situations whenever they are not being paid attention to all the time, they do shit in order for the parents to actually give a shit.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Mhm.
cursing or doing shit that isn't right
Yeah, because
or
I think
things
that's
of that
another important
nature.
thing that a lot of people I find it hilarious that I have seen so many people forget that they're teenagers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like they're not as young as we are in Undertale because we're like a kid in Undertale, but like Chris and Susie and Ralsei and all of them are very clearly teenagers. Like
Mhm. Yeah, I also I know there's a lot of people also in the fandom who really don't just really get very defensive over even bringing up the concept that Toriel exhibits of like just some passive forms of neglect in general
yeah, no, I've
towards
seen
Chris.
that too. Like
Like no one's saying that she's like an abusive, irredeemable piece of shit. People are just pointing
Yeah.
out that she exhibits some neglectful behavior, and people are like, "How could you say such a thing?"
Because
It's like
Undertale Toriel is not the same as Deltarune
exactly.
yeah,
Toriel,
Well,
and
and I
people
think
forget
they've
that.
exactly.
yeah, and they've proven that time and time again with they even have the the joke where like you'll talk to Alphys? Yeah. Alphys about Undyne and be like, "What? We're not dating. What are you talking about?" like,
Who the
cuz
fuck is
that's
Yeah.
that?
yeah, who
I
is
don't know who the
that?
fuck that is.
Yeah, the cop? Like, what do you mean? like,
The new cop in town? The fuck are you talking about?
Like, I
No.
don't know that bitch. I don't know who that is.
it's another thing I think is interesting too is so I have a theory. I I think this is happening along in tandem with Undertale. And the reason why I think that is because if we do not see Papyrus once in this game and Sans just keeps mentioning his brother and we do not see him at some point, he has to be in Undertale. Because that's what I think it is. I one of my theories that I've seen floating around is that Sans and Papyrus are from the Deltarune world and showed up in Snowden because they just talk about how one day the Bone Brothers were just there.
I don't even think they're from Undertale. I mean, not Undertale, Deltarune.
What do you think they're from?
Well, they just showed up in town in Deltarune too. I don't know where they're from. I don't think
Oh,
any people know. Like that's literally what Stan says the start as you meet him in Deltarune. Like he's like, "Yeah, my brother and I are new in town."
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
but they also say the same exact thing in Undertale. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows where the fuck they're from. But that also brings me to the fact that I definitely think that uh it's even proven like Sans knows something.
Oh no, Sans is yeah.
Sam definitely fucking knows something because like in Undertale, like okay, there's no proof. I will say there's no real proof in Deltarune quite yet that he knows anything at this point. However, in Undertale, there is like a little basement workshop that you can access. I don't remember how you access it, but in Undertale, you can access their basement workshop and it is it shows blueprints of the fucking determination like gaster blaster like machine in the true lab, but it also has a photo of three people standing around. Oh, like it's very, I want to say like a I don't know exactly the words of it, but it says like there's three people that look like they're all smiling, they're heroes, whatnot, and it says at the bottom, "Don't forget," which is the whole entire like thing for Deltarune. That's the huge song at the end of the chapters that you hear for Deltarune is "Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark." Like it's so prevalent that even though these might not be the same universes or storylines, they are connected in some way, shape, or form. And the fact that Sans, again, he hasn't really shown this in Deltarune, but in Undertale, it it shows him like there's these doors that you can find in Deltarune in the Darkner worlds where you can go through in order to fast travel. Sans uses these same doors in Undertale, and it's implied that he does, in order to move around the world. Um, that or maybe they're not in the world per se of Undertale, but like his door is the door that you can like fast travel through in Deltarune. And I don't think that Toby would just like put that there for like not like just so that he doesn't have to make another asset type of a thing. I think that was very like specific for
Yeah, it's
Toby
very
to do.
purposeful.
Like it is Sans's door in Undertale in their house. Um and like whenever you finally unlock fast travel in the Darkner world in Deltarune, there's the same fire that comes out of it as it would in Sans's room in Undertale. Like at the bottom, there's the same light so that you can fast travel. So I very much do believe that Sans has something to do with this story. I also think that Papyrus also might have something huge to do with this story. I don't know what exactly, but I have a feeling that especially now that the whole Sans and Toriel thing is happening, I do feel like Sans is going to be more prevalent in the story than we originally thought.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, also, to go off of that, I also not to go back to the Roaring Knight, but to go back to the Roaring Knight. The Roaring Knight actually has a move called Gaster Sword Blasters. Deadass. Like
And
yeah, the swords that pop up and then it blasts at the heart, that's the Gaster Sword Blasters. Like you don't just name a move like that for it not to be prevalent when
Mm-hmm.
Sans has an exact same move in Undertale called Gaster Blaster. I very much think that Papyrus and Sans are connected more than the story is letting on.
mm-hmm.
Um, due to that alone. Like and not only that, like it's very interesting to me going off of that. It um during that fight as well, like those gaster blasters and stuff, it is very reminiscent to Azrael's attack too of I don't remember what his moves are called exactly, but it kind of looks like, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say, hold on. Undertale Azrael attacks. I want to say there is something that Azrael does do in the battle. Fire, Star Blazing, Shocker, Chaos Buster,
Isn't it like
Chaos
Super Mega
Sweeper,
Death or something like that?
Angel of Death. Oh, yeah, no, that's where I was going with it. Yeah, like what you were just talking about, Michi. Like the Roaring Knight's last attack is very reminiscent of Azrael's last attack
Mm-hmm.
in Undertale, which is also interesting to me. Um, because also the multicoloredness and the pattern from the dark fountain behind the roaring knight is very prevalent to Azrael's fight as well in Undertale. I'm not saying that Azrael is the roaring knight, that's not what I'm saying at all. I just feel like that shows proof that these things have more of a connection than we're letting on, and I'm not saying that Undertale is Deltarune. I'm just saying that I feel like I feel like there's just more to this that we don't understand right now.
Mm-hmm.
In
Yeah.
my notes, I just said that I think this is just a parallel, uh, and it could just mean that Azrael and the like. It's not that that Azrael is the Roaring Knight. It could just mean that Azrael might have more of a connection to the Roaring Knight in relationship somehow, um, as if Azrael knows the Roaring Knight type of a thing. I don't know. It is interesting to theorize about, but no, I don't think that Azrael is the Roaring Knight. He couldn't be. Um, it just
Yeah.
would come out of left field. I don't know how that would happen, but like anyway, going back on the whole like I don't know how Gaster has anything to do with Deltarune. I have no idea how Sands and Papyrus has anything to do with Deltarune, but I feel like there's a strong correlation, and I feel like Azrael has also has a big part to play in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally all I'm just saying.
I mean, I feel like Azrael has to, because it's again, it's one of those we keep talking about Azrael coming back from college. It is a
And I wonder
consistent
if
thing.
Azrael does have that code, because Azrael could definitely have that code.
It's true. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
the Deltarune is supposed to be a reference to Asriel Undertale,
Hmm.
like could be a strange little correlation that happens that fucking ties it all together, so to speak.
I mean, the angel of like Azrael, the angel of death from Undertale, does kind of have resemblance of the Deltarune itself.
Oh, heavy
So I
resemblance,
Well,
and
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
call
yeah.
the
His
that symbol the angel.
yeah, like because
yeah,
his true final boss form, the one he looks like the angel.
hyper death
Yeah,
angel, hyper death angel, whatever it's called.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Even
yeah.
though it's
Hyper
hyper
Death
death.
Lord, awesome McCaster. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it's called. Hold
I'm
on.
so
well,
mad at
it's
myself
something
that I didn't like
childish. It's
this
something
one.
silly like that.
Oh,
Like it's
sorry, God of hyper death. Sorry.
wow, fake fans. We're fake fans.
Wow.
God. No, I have some thoughts on how some of that might
Yeah, pop off, pop
correlate and
off.
tie over. So I was sitting here and I made a connection. This is partially based on what someone I saw someone else say the other day, and also just again, so like going back to my whole thing about the weird routes and how I
Mhm.
think that there's more to them than them just being bad endings or being bad routes. Because here's the thing:
I mean, they're literally called a
from the
weird route.
beginning,
You know what I mean? It's literally called a
right,
weird route. Like,
right. From the beginning, though, you gotta walk with me here because it's gonna take me a minute to get where I'm going. So from the beginning, Toby released the game with the whole idea of like only one ending question mark, and obviously the big debate has been, is there actually going to be one ending? Like how would that work, especially with the weird route in mind? How would that work? Because if there's only one ending but you can seriously change, like you completely alter fucking Noelle's mental state, how on earth is there only one ending the game? And I've always personally said that I think there is going to be one ending. I think that the one ending is more going to be like
no, that's
the
what I've heard.
context around it.
I've heard people say that, and I've heard be like,
Yeah,
it's not. This isn't like it in a weird way. Our choices both matter and don't matter. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, it's yeah.
So I think that in that regard, it's like there will be one. That's what I've always believed. But I've also always, and this has always stuck with me from the very, very beginning, in the prophecy that Rousey tells you, the watered down prophecy, as we've now learned, the watered down, very sanitized prophecy that he told us.
it says specifically that, in a sense, the world almost has to end first before the three heroes arrive. Because it meant, if you really pay attention to the wording, it says the world draws its final breath, and only then three heroes appear on the horizon. So I've always had this thought.
Oh, that's
But you gotta
right.
walk with me because I'm not done yet.
Okay,
We're just
okay, all
beginning.
right. I'm listening. I'm
So
listening. All right, go.
I've always had that thought personally, that there's something here about how the world has to basically, like, we have to let the world die first before we can ever fix anything. It's very Homestuck of it. But there's that whole thing that I've always latched onto. That wording is very particular. That wording is very interesting. And considering the fact that every time Rousey retold the prophecy, there was always some new information that was added. Now we understand why. It's that Rousey knows. I love Rousey so much. I'm so sad that I bullied him for so long because I knew he was
Me
hiding things.
too,
But
yeah.
that's okay. But like, uh, but now we know that he knows the whole prophecy. He's only trying to tell us things to not upset us and try to tell us what little that he can.
Yeah,
He's been
he's
trying
trying.
to
Yeah, he's.
hide the full
Yeah.
scope of it. At the end of chapter 4, we understand now that there's likely not a good ending to Deltarune in the sense that we might want there to be. There's not going to be a true pacifist Undertale where we all holding hands and skipping in a field and we're like,
Well,
we
I
did
mean,
it, we're all alive, we did
but
it.
that's also a
Like,
thing. Like, but that's like the thing with Undertale. A lot of people seem to forget you cannot save Asriel. No matter what
yes,
you do, you cannot save his fate. So, like, which, like, it's a bittersweet ending. It's like,
right,
oh, the monsters get to leave the mountain. We get to have a family. It's all nice and hunky dory. Asriel is still trapped as a flower. You know what I mean?
right. But it's like, so there's that whole thing of just like, but even then it's like in Undertale there's still like a pretty happy resolution, because in some ways Asriel's story is more about making peace with death, and just a really sad thing about child death, but being able to make peace with that and being able to move on. So even while it's not the happiest ending in the world, there's still a certain amount of closure and peace that you get with that. In Deltarune, we have left with the implication, while we haven't seen it with our own eyes, that the either A, we are destined to lose no matter what. We are destined to lose, or probably more specifically, we, Rousey, Chris, and Susie, are going to die by the end of this. That in order to save the world, they either die or the world is destroyed and they're never going to win. That's a big implication that has been given with the way that Susie reacted and the way that the text was sort of
That's
building
what I
up
was
to
saying.
everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's someone's gonna
So
die. Like,
yeah. So there's this really haunting nature of it where we've established that the prophecy will happen the way that it's going to happen. There is nothing we can do about it. And there's this really interesting sort of overtone of the idea of that, like, fate is uncontrollable, like, to the idea of the that everything the prophecy says will come true no matter what we try to do. And that, like, Rousey, in the way that he has in his breakdown, he just talks about it, is that he knows about all of the horrible things that are going to happen, but he just wants us to have a good time. Likely, Rousey wants us to have a good, be happy and fulfilled by the time terrible things happen.
are you
And
saying he wants to fill us with hopes and dreams?
yeah, but
Fuck
like,
you.
so the idea that we're gonna the idea that we're going to walk into, that we're sort of the end of this story, we may be almost restricted to.
That got you that bad?
That was not that funny.
I did not think it was that
I
funny.
just gotta be honest.
Like,
That
I
was
know,
not
I
that
also
funny.
didn't think it was that funny. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna say a really bad pun right now.
No, I'm just laughing at my response. It's fine. Just fuck you. I'm sorry.
Wow. Wow. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, we the idea here is that we are walking towards an uncontrollable fate. That fate is going to happen the way it is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy no matter what we try to do. All of that kind of a thing. I also I think I've picked up on that as well, just because, again, I hate to keep mentioning Homestuck, but truly, again, when you understand Homestuck, there's some of these things you can tell where the inspirations come from. But about this idea of walking towards a fate that you can't avoid it, whatever, which is very interesting, and very juicy and delicious, and very sad and very tragic, in the way. So that might be what it is that there's one ending to the game, and the ending is that the prophecy is going to happen how the prophecy is going to happen. That I don't even think the people in the bunker maybe are necessarily bad guys. They're just doing what the prophecy has dictated. We're just fulfilling what is supposed to happen, and that's really it. Or even possibly they might even be trying to find a way to stop the prophecy. That could also be what's going on. Is this idea of we know the prophecy is going to happen, and so we're trying to stop it. So here's where I have to go back to the weird route real quick. I saw someone point this out, and while we were talking, something like like snapped in my brain a little bit as I made this connection. Because again, we don't know what the last 3 chapters are. We don't know what the full game loop of this game is supposed to be in the end.
Yeah, because the
And
final
like
thing too is I've seen so
I
many videos of like I figured out blah 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 blah. It's gonna
yeah,
be, and
I
I'm
think
like
there's so much that we
buddy,
gotta know.
there's like 3 more chapters left, right?
Right.
Like
So my thing though is because obviously I brought up the fact that I do think that replaying the game is going to be something that is not going to be just encouraged but necessary if you want to fully complete the game. And my reason for that has been because again, you wouldn't a normal standard player without external information wouldn't know how to do Snowgrave without really fucking around. And you likely would need at least 2 playthroughs to really know how to even do the weird route. And the way the weird route changes the game is so drastic. Even like once it happens, even if it doesn't feel like it right away. I say all of this because I saw someone on Twitter, and maybe they were wrong, so maybe I have misinformation. I have yet to verify this myself. Someone mentioned the fact, possibly partially jokingly, that in the weird route, we don't ever get into the queen's car. Like that's a whole bit that we do with Noelle where we get in the car, but in the weird route, Noelle has run off because of everything that happened. And so we never actually get in the queen's car and we do that. I bring this up because in the prophecy, it says the queen's chariot will ride. We don't do that in the weird route. The prophecy didn't happen in the weird route the way it was supposed to. And I'm
oh.
wondering if possibly, in my mind, there's a universe where the story of DeltaRune plays out in a normal standard way where you do everything normally. You do everything, whether you attack or you mercy, whatever you do, you play all the way towards the very end. You get to the end, everyone dies. It's this big sad thing. And the idea is that possibly we as the player are looking for a way to possibly stop the prophecy. And I'm wondering if the weird route might be the way to stop the prophecy. If that's possibly a direction the game might be willing to go.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, oh.
I'm wondering if the idea, because that's again, I'm wondering if like obviously there is, and here's the thing, there's another universe where the existence of the weird route is actually has nothing to do with the actual story and more a statement to player curiosity, as it were. And in the way
Yeah.
that Undertale was this kind of almost commentary on the idea of like if you play it like a traditional RPG, you will almost get emotionally punished later. But like just with the revelation that it is not like your typical RPG. So it could be that the weird route is there to almost like not punish necessarily, but almost to like point at someone because it's like, okay, so you were and I can actually bring up this as well in this regard. On this train of thought, there's some merit to this because I've also noticed there's this really annoying trend of people. Well, I say annoying. I think there's a really good societal commentary about it. There's a category of people and Let's Players who have played it where they do the shit in the weird route. They do all the horrible fucked up shit and they go, oh my God, I can't believe that must have been Chara who did that. That must have been like
Yeah, I've seen
someone
that
else who
too.
did
I've seen
like
that too. And I'm like, buddy,
projecting
you're
their
doing
bad
it.
actions on another villain in a separate game that is not present in this game at all.
Well,
And like
it's the same thing
I
like
think
I've
there's
seen.
that disconnect
Well, I think
of
it's the
like
same thing of people who are like, I've actually seen people be like, we're not controlling Chris. And I'm like, excuse, what?
yeah, there's
What
even been people. Oh my God, no! This really infuriating thing of people who are just like, well, no, but see, like, and again, as much as I think it's annoying and I disagree firmly with it, I think this is important to almost. I think there's a part of DeltaRune that is doing this on purpose because there's a category of people who are like, actually, I think it's a good thing that we're controlling Chris. Chris didn't have any friends
Yeah,
before
no,
we
I've
came
seen that
along.
too. I've seen that too. It's like,
Wouldn't talk
yeah.
to people before we came along. Chris was like a little shit before we came along. So there's this weird, like almost ethical puppeteering that people are
No,
having
I've seen that,
and
and I've also
compartmentalizing while
seen,
playing.
like, because it's been proven not true, but it is an interesting fucked up theory. The reason why I say it's proven not true is because there's a lot of things that pretty much, whenever Chris does something that we do not tell them to do, that is Chris doing it. You know, Chris
Yeah.
and Susie chugging down punch, and them picking up Susie to eat whatever the fuck that was in front of Asgore's house. Like, that's clearly them. The reason why I say that is because I've seen so many people being like, oh my god, it's gonna break Susie's heart when she realizes that Chris isn't actually her friend. And I'm like, no, they're very much friends.
They're very much friends.
Like, I think
we
Susie's...
probably helped them connect with each other, but they're friends. And
Yeah,
also,
they're
again,
very...
the prophecy
again,
happens
because
the way the prophecy happens.
Yeah,
It's
I
going
think...
to, that's not what's going to break Susie. What's going to break Susie is if she ever finds out Chris is the one making these dark worlds.
Oh no, there's plenty of things that are going to break Susie. It's not
Yeah,
our
yeah.
existence that's going to do it.
Yeah, and it's also a
No.
thing where I also think... I think Susie's gonna obviously find out we're being puppeted, and I think Susie's gonna be pissed. I don't think Susie's gonna be pissed like, oh my god, Chris, you're not real. I think it's gonna be like, oh, what the fuck? Like...
You motherfucker, get out of here.
Because I'll be real. Yeah.
While I don't think that Susie is on that trail right now, I feel like the dominoes are very much set up in place right now for her to find out that we are a thing.
No,
Because
exactly, yeah.
in chapter 4, it's very evident. She's like, why the fuck is it calling you a cage? And why is the art like that? I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have done it this way.
Yeah.
In terms of like seeing Chris as part of the prophecy.
Yeah.
I feel like she's very much on the lines of figuring out we are here.
No, that's what I do too. I think she's figuring out, because even she's like, there's been times where she's like, she's been like laughing or something. She's like, Chris, what are you talking about? Like, you know, like...
Or are you okay? You don't see, like, you're...
Like, why are you making that face?
Yeah, why are you making that face? Yeah,
line.
exactly. That's a good one. Yeah, like...
The
piano thing is significant for her to, like, her and Ralsei to be like, oh, there's something else here, type of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to my... Yeah. So, like, back on my train of thought, I'm like, so yeah, I think there's a world where the Snowgrave thing might possibly be almost like a poke at us as players of being like, you're so curious that you wanted to know what happened so badly that you did this horrible shit just because you wanted to know what happens. Like, even though obviously it's taunting us almost into doing it, it's like, you know, in the end, it's a really horrible thing. And that's honestly, I think, the really fascinating thing right now. There's no benefit to anyone doing it other than the morbid curiosity of doing it. And I do think that to continue on this, because again, I have 2 tracks of thought of how I think the game is handling the existence of the Snowgrave route and what it means. This first thought going along like almost the morally challenging part of it. Another thing that supports this is that Toby Fox has already expressed about why they will never make merch of the Lightners. That he's already expressed that, like, Darkeners, free game, we can merchandise that, do whatever, but any of the Lightners are not, like, they're never going to personally make any merch of that and whatever, and that they don't want merch to be made if possible for that kind of stuff, likely because of the implications of the story of the idea that the Darkeners are objects that exist almost for human imagination and entertainment, while the Lightners are like supposed to be actual people, like actual real people. And so in that regard, in a morally challenging route with the Snowgrave, that's sort of almost the challenge. It's like, it's one thing for us to, like, you know, beat up a bunch of Darkeners, and like, even though if it makes Queen sad later that nobody shows up in her kingdom with her, which is so sad, but like, you know, in the end, they are all just objects. And I mean, even in the end, Ralsei doesn't even necessarily stop you from attacking everything. He just encourages you not to, but he doesn't stop you from doing it. Not inherently. So like there's a certain thing to be said about that. Meanwhile, We Do Noel is, I think they died. I think they're dead.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Are you good?
No, my throat hurts, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Is that all we got?
I don't know. I mean, does anyone else?
I mean, I don't.
Insights?
Let's see.
Oh, I forgot the piano, the grand piano.
The piano.
How could I forgot? First of all, Chris's piano playing, very beautiful. Loved it. Loved every part. You can also do a bunch of other shit with the
Oh yeah, I've seen a bunch of shit.
Wait, really?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of Easter eggs for it. you could do his theme, like some notes from his
Oh
theme,
wait,
and
I did see this.
Ralsei's literally like, "Oh, sounds like a pretty lullaby," and things like that. One that stuck out to me is Megalovania.
Doesn't Toby show up and beat your ass? Like,
So if you do Megalovania on the grand piano in chapter 4, Toby the dog comes in
yeah.
with the toy car and fucking kills you. And then it fades to black, and then Chris literally bangs on the piano, doing like a bad like tune and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
is like, "Just fucking stop."
Let it
uh,
die. Let it die.
yeah, but there's like a bunch of them that you can do. You can do Don't Forget. You can do The Prophecy, and Ralsei gets all flustered and is like, "Stop it." Um, you
This
can
isn't a
even
theory. I just
do
love when Ralsei fucking pancakes and then you as Chris can pancake with him. Like,
yeah, that one's cute. That was cute. And then you can do like Lost Girl,
I
things of
love the
that
pancake.
nature.
It's so funny.
But yeah, there's that little bit. I like that. I like how it's very reminiscent of the piano puzzle in Undertale. It's just very cute. Because when I saw those pianos, I'm like, oh, I want to play his theme. And then
yeah.
it's like, do it this way. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
And then I saw the grand piano. I'm like, it's my time.
It's my time.
I remember I was attempting. I guess I must have gone too slow because I was attempting to do the full song and it literally just stopped me after 2 notes. I did not do a wrong note. It just stopped me. It was like, dude, why are you playing so bad? And I'm like, I just started. I didn't even get 3 notes
Yeah.
in. That's my too slow. Is that why?
But the fact
I
that
was
it knows, though, is just so. I'm just glad that Chris had their moment.
I know. They needed that, man.
Yeah.
We're mean.
Very
That's what I
mean.
mean.
Why
Like,
are we here? Why are we here? Are we the angel that is the hyper death? Is that it? Are we the angel that
Are we
came?
hyper death?
Are we are we god of hyper death? I mean, that could be a theory though. We might be the angel that fucking showed up out of
Who knows?
nowhere in
There is
order
a
to
part where
fulfill
it's
this
like you can actually see the
prophecy.
angel, but it's conveniently covered
yeah,
up
it's
by a fucking
conveniently covered.
wall.
Well,
Yeah.
what's really funny is someone pointed that out is something they realized when when they were playing it like on their own thing. They were playing it on a laptop like in their room at night, and they were trying to look at it at the angel, and so like they like leaned in close, and because the screen is pure black, you only see yourself looking back at you.
Ooh,
Oh.
And the
I
guy
like
brought that up,
that.
and a lot of people were like, "Oh wait, that happened to me too." Like,
And it would
I
be
like
very
that.
right,
interesting.
right,
It would be
yeah.
very interesting because
I.
this shit is talking about how you're seeing things in the dark. And don't
Mm-hmm.
forget, I'm with you in the dark type of a thing.
Mhm.
I like that
Mm-hmm.
motif. I
I
like
like
it.
that. I like that a lot.
And
Also, oh
it's
my god.
also
Yeah.
Sorry,
like
go ahead.
it's also prevalent. Not me going back to Undertale. I'm sorry, but like it
It's
is
fine.
relevant.
We've all
But
done
like
it. We've all been doing it. So
well, the fact that the prophecy in Undertale is kind of similar to the prophecy in Deltarune in terms of like the Deltarune symbol itself, because the Deltarune symbol itself is in Undertale, and Gerson talks about it. It talks about how there is in Undertale, there's an angel that comes and frees the people of the underground. It never specifies how. In true pacifist, it's obviously you making all your friends and being a true pacifist and stuff like that. But in genocide route, it also means like completely emptying the underground of like everyone by killing them all. So it could just be very well like, and it also says that the angel just shows up one day. What if the angel just shows up one day in Deltarune without any notice and that is just us?
Mhm.
Because why the fuck is who are we?
well, that's
We're
what
the
I mean. That's what
player.
I want to know. I want to know what happened to humans, because again, that's I mean that also could be implied for Chris. Did they just show up one day and the family brought him in? Like, it made more
Also,
sense. Yeah.
No, keep going.
No,
I'll
no, go ahead.
say it in a minute.
No, go
I'll say it
ahead.
in a minute.
Go!
Well, it might revert the conversation, so please go.
Well, what I was trying to say was just that. Like, again, Chris just, like, I want to know how they were able to adopt Chris and what was going on with that. Like, I don't need, like, the logistics. I've seen people be like, I want a detail. I'm like, no, I just need I need an offhand comment of, like, oh yeah, like, the day we found Chris. Something like that, you know, like...
Or the day we adopted Chris, because
Yeah.
that could very well be a thing. Because I'm gonna be real, like like they are in a small town, and sometimes small towns just don't have as many minorities, like people of color or races and things of that nature. Like in, I'm talking about America, by the way, people. Like
Uh-huh.
I've been in small town America before. There are just sometimes there's just not a lot of diversity in small towns. So that could just be why Chris is the only human. Toriel and Asgore might have just gotten them from another town or city, because they have, like, they also talked about something being across the lake, which is another
Ah,
thing I
okay,
wanted to bring
okay,
up.
okay, okay.
They keep hearing music across the lake, which we can't hear it, but it's the thing of Onion San
Mm-hmm.
has talked about it. There's something in
Mm-hmm.
the lake. There's some music across the lake, whatever, in the lake, across the lake, whatever. And they're going to go see what it is. Susie mentions it in chapter 4 when you're sitting there by the lake with her.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Oh, can you hear that? There's music across the lake. I wonder what that is." But you as the player can't hear that music. So I'm wondering what that is, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I do remember there's also a thing with the music as well that people have been pointing out. There's a specific song, I forget when it plays, but it's called uh The
Is it the
Place
rain
Where It's
song?
Raining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yeah,
in Undertale, there's it's
I
raining
literally
somewhere
cried.
else, which I
Mm-hmm.
think again I think is a big illusion that these might be like parallel universes that are existing that are
Yeah,
coexisting.
Yeah.
Because that's what I
bro,
lean
I
towards.
cried. I
That's what I think.
literally cried
Oh, yeah.
when that
I'm
started
just
playing.
it's just God, it's such a good game. It's such a good. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say. Um, about fucking something. Da, 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 about lore and stuff. I just like. I don't know. I'm so ever since I just don't know what happened. I read that tweet and I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of a fucked up thing that you don't ride in the car. I forgot about that. Haha. And like just while we were talking, at some point my brain went, huh?
Yeah. Huh?
Just like
Oh,
Huh?
eyes bulging out of my head like wait a minute, like hang on a minute, is this what are all the pieces coming together? Is are we going to be forced, like are we going to be forced to make I truly I almost kind of hope that's what happens, because I would kill to have an absolutely devastating moral decision such as that. I think that would be fucking brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
um because I just the idea that we might have to pick between basically torturing Noelle and possibly eventually like possibly even harming our friends as well in the process, uh just to try and like change the prophecy,
yes,
change the
yeah,
end of the prophecy would be so crazy. Because I'm like, even if it goes into like, even if my original thought is right, where the world is going to end, like they're going to lose, it
Yeah.
might even be a thing of the of us having a choice between accepting the fact that we will lose no matter what and there's nothing we can do, or again doing really horrible things just to make sure that we win for
Yeah.
what.
right,
And like it almost this idea of like, is it better to let everyone die or basically traumatize everyone just so they live, like
yeah,
that could be also a really terrifying
I mean, it makes a lot of
thing.
sense because now I've never played this game, so I can't like say anything about it. But I know Toby Fox has gone on record multiple times saying that like his favorite thing was Mother 2, right? Or the Mother
Oh
series.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And those games have a happy ending, technically.
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird, and it is one of those things where you're like, yeah, Nintendo really let that slip through, because we're Americans. I feel confident saying that. I feel like most people would understand that at this point. But, again, I never played the Mother series, or Earthbound, whatever. But I knew a lot of people that did, and I remember when I saw those silly little guys, I was like, oh, cool. And then I remember when I saw, like, their weird fetus monster, which, you know, I also didn't like that the god fight had the weird fetus thing.
Yeah.
the weird fetus attacks, I was like, oh, okay, that's probably a reference to that. And I've seen people be like, is Susie pregnant, question mark? And I'm like, what the
Oh,
fuck?
God.
What the
Jesus
fuck? I was like,
Christ!
why would someone think that? What the fuck?
What in the
God.
No, there's some there are
what
wild
game are
theories
they
of that. Yeah,
What are
yeah,
they
what game are they playing?
Dude,
Yeah,
it's
like,
fun every time you fucking encounter someone and you're just like, where you're in a different world than me. How
well, that was like
nice.
that. It's like Chara's actually the mastermind of everything. Because, like,
No,
okay,
there's so many clips. There's a clip from chapter 4 of like doing a horrible thing and then being like, that was Chara, bro. Oh my god, that was Chara.
bro.
Bro, that was
No.
Chara who did that, not me.
No.
And it was like, dudes, like,
Guys,
I
you're missing the
again,
entire point.
I appreciate it from a social experiment standpoint of the way that people are, whether jokingly or not, trying to compartmentalize doing horrible things to fictional video game characters. I think it's
Right?
quite
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
quite
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Especially when, because, like, if you think about it, in, like, a good example in Pokemon, you constantly just beat the shit out of Pokemon for EXP, and we don't
Yeah.
take you know what I mean? And you never think, because I never thought about it before, except for talking about it right now, I never thought after I beat the fuck out of a Pidgeotto and knocked it out, to be like, alright, time to take you to a Pokemon Center, I just leave. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's one of those,
Yeah.
like...
Mm-hmm. I'm like, I think regardless of what version it has to represent in my mind, I'm like, either way, there's definitely a deep, almost like moral question we're being posed with. Because again, it's so fascinating how people are trying to compartmentalize what they're doing with like the weird route, the Snowgrave, the whatever.
To justify it, yeah, when it's like...
to just try to justify doing it, when it's like, in the end, we have to accept, no, you're doing this because you're curious. You're doing it because you want to see what happens. There's no other reward to it. If anything, doing those make things harder for you because you're forced to fight Spamton by yourself. You're forced to like just experience things completely differently.
So much harder. I didn't even get past that.
Yeah, well, and that's also
I'm
a
like,
thing too.
So I'm like, I think that it is almost morally challenging of just like, why are you doing this? Is there like, do you have a reason to do this other than the fact that you just want to know what happens, even though you know it's a horrible thing to do?
Well, it's the same thing. Like, I've seen so many people, like, I watched a theory video a couple days ago where a person's like, the genocide route's not fun. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like, that was the point. Did you guys forget? And they're like, and I've seen, like, the person I saw was like,
if you're not
I know,
having
yeah,
fun,
they're like, I know that's the point, but that's still not an excuse. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? Like, did you hear what you just said? Please say it back.
Right?
Like,
that doesn't make sense to me.
because I've seen some people argue, which I'm like, okay, I could see this, but I'm also here like, it's not that kind of game, bro. Like, okay, I'm a Metroidvania fan, for people who don't know, right? And a very big staple in Metroidvania games is there's always at some point like a boss rush mode. You know what I mean? Where it's just, there's no story to it, you can just replay the bosses, and you can do a lot of fun like that. And I've seen people be like, I would love if Undertale had a boss rush mode. And I'm sitting here like, okay, but it doesn't. Like, Toby Fox clearly made that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I, like... Also, maybe it's just me, I don't know a single person that liked the Megalovania fight, or liked the Undertale fight. They were like, I did it. I finally did it to do it.
Well, like I said, like, because again, I did the genocide route. It was because I will admit it was because of my morbid curiosity.
Yeah, you wanted to do it. Yeah,
I wanted
like...
to do it. I wanted to see if I could do it instead of like watching somebody else play it. I wanted to see if I could do it, and I did
I think
it.
that's such
and I went through the entire thing, and after Sans' fight, I felt, like I said, I felt so accomplished yet unsatisfied.
Yeah, which I think is the point.
Such an immoral, to me, it was such a morally wrong thing I just did. It was so bad, I kid you not. I wanted to go through True Pacifist again.
That's what I've heard a lot of people say, though. A lot of people have said that. Like they again, they're done with it, and then that's why it's also changed. It's different now. You know what I mean? Like
because you can't forget about the shit that you've done. Like, you did this to yourself. Live with the consequences of your own actions. Which, very interesting to me how nowadays that's basically the moral of a lot of stories with entertainment. But that's a topic for another day.
No, but I think that's also what goes back into like no, I think that's a good point. It's kind of like the FNAFification or the of a lot of like indie horror games and stuff now. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Mhm.
hey, this was a new thing. This was a thing that had not been done before and it did
Mhm.
really really well. And so now everyone and their mom is doing it. So
Yeah,
I think
it's redeemed villains all over again, kind of a thing.
yeah,
That classic
exactly,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, which like inherently I don't think is a bad thing, but I think that's also ingenious why Toby Fox is like, "Oh, there is only one ending for this game."
Yeah.
In a
Again,
way,
and
this is
he
a
does put
linear
question
story.
marks.
Like, yeah,
I
like
still don't fully believe there might be one ending. I think that there, again, I do think there's some merit to the idea that I think that there is a possibility to change the course of fate, but I think you might be required to do some really horrible things to do
yeah,
it.
no,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, again, like
I
you were
hope
saying.
so
Yeah.
bad. I want it to be the truth because okay, weird to bring it up because but you did mention Life is Strange, so I do want to bring it up
Yeah, no,
because
that's fine.
I I think something that always drives me insane about Life is Strange and the conversation around it is I get why people mention it of like that they hate the fact that you basically have to choose between the world and your friend or like why can't she live? I don't understand like why does she have to die or the world is destroyed? And I'm like I feel like in that regard I'm like I I lose my mind because people are always like, yeah, we love stories with like big moral choices, but then they're presented with an actual big moral choice and they're just like, what? But I should be able to get the happy fun time ending where everything is perfect. And
No,
I'm like,
exactly,
and
exactly. And
one of my complaints just with the ending of Life is Strange. I have other opinions about that game and how the storytelling and stuff. What this
mhm.
isn't about Life is Strange, but like my thing, if anything, and this is my more takeaway of it, is that the game definitely it has an ending that it thinks you should do because a lot of games fall in that trap or a lot of
Yeah.
stories fall in that trap of like yeah sure there's multiple endings but this is the ending we consider to be the true ending, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because like
Yeah.
because in the end if you choose to not save Chloe that's when you get the full epilogue with the full piece and like you try to get some kind of closure on everything whatever. If you choose to save Chloe though and not let her die then you just drive away in a car through a destroyed city and there's not really any kind of closure there other than the choice that you made. And that's what I don't like about the ending because I think that both choices should have had some kind of conclusion. Both of them will feel bittersweet and have a certain level of sorrow to it, but I think in the end it should be treated like your choice and you shouldn't be given less satisfaction for choosing the quote unquote wrong choice in the story writer's mind. I think that like they should have drove off in that car while having a full conversation about everything, maybe talking about themselves and their relationship, talking about the people there and reflecting on everything that happened. That I think would have been a more satisfying ending than just like driving off in a destroyed city because you decided to make a choice the game didn't want you to. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it's like that's kind of why I'm like I trust Toby Fox. I feel like if there's a world where that is possibly the direction we're going, where it's basically we are basically railroaded into one choice, or we could choose to do multiple abhorrent things to get a different ending. I hope to God that it's going to be like both of them are going to have a certain level of satisfaction for doing. I don't want there to be a good ending and a bad ending. Well, there's plenty of games like that out there that have good endings, bad endings, whatever. I hope that it's just endings. I want it to
Yeah, no,
be
I'm fair for that.
I would love that. As much as my little heart wants everyone to live happily ever after, yippee hooray! I want there to be like,
It's
I
a
want there to be
true
more
choose
than
your own
that.
adventure. It's a
Yeah,
Yeah,
true
yeah, that's a good
choose
way to
your
put
own
it.
adventure.
I
There's
almost, I
no
would,
good ending, there's no bad ending. It's only the ending that you make it to be.
yes, I hope that the choice, I would love for that, and people might disagree with me. I would love for the choice to almost be choose between the bittersweet ending, or choose between a more haunting ending, one that
Mhm.
doesn't feel fully complete. And I think too, because Susie even talks about this, is Gerson asks her if you could make what a kind of ending, what would you like to make it? And she says, I don't know. I just want it to keep going. Why does it have to end?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
rather, and it's like the fact that you choose and I'm like, I feel like that has to have a purpose here. Like the idea of, do we choose to let things end or do we choose to let things continue? And like, I think there's going to be a bit of an implication there as well, is the idea that even if we reach an ending, that's not the end. That's the end of the story that we're participating in,
Yeah.
but it's not the end for
Well,
these characters.
it's also interesting that you bring that up too, because at the end of every single chapter, you can either choose to continue that chapter or you can choose to go on to the next chapter. It's a
True.
continuous story. You can do it over and over and over again. It's still going to be the same story, and it's still going to be the same outcome, though.
Mm-hmm. I just love it. I'm excited about it. I'm eager about it. And I think too of like, again, I go into I hate that I keep bringing up Homestuck. Again, I promise I have my reasons, but I'm like, because even in
Well, he
Homestuck, that's a
also
big
worked
theme
for
that
home. It's
happens
one of
in
those
there.
things like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not a Homestuck person. It's one of those like you can't ignore the fact he worked for Homestuck. He worked for
Oh
Andrew
yeah.
Hussey. You know what I
Again,
mean? Like it's
I
one of
think
those
that
like yeah.
this is my propaganda. If everyone read Homestuck, no, but there is some jokes though. It's really funny because I won't get too deep into it. People, because there's also a lot of shipping, also with Tenna over there, everyone passing him around. Also, the shipping that's just happening between Noelle, Susie, Chris, and Birdley is hilarious.
Okay, wait,
Yeah.
no, that's something we could
um,
talk about because bro, Ken showed me when you picked the number song because I didn't see the number song version of Taking Birdley to the fucking fair.
The wrong number
They're the
song.
wrong number song, yeah. And I
wrong
was like,
number song.
this teenager and his Riz, what the shit? Like, I
Oh,
wish I was that confident when I was a teenager. Like,
Because he's
I'm
talking about how the dominoes are falling for
Jesus,
Noelle
the
and
voice.
Susie.
Stop!
But you know
Ah!
what dominoes mean? You're next. And then he hangs up, and I'm like, bro.
I also just love the
my
option when you tell Ralsei, and you tell
yeah,
Ralsei who you're
you're gonna
taking.
take Birdley to the
Yeah,
fair.
yeah,
Chris
and
is
it's
like Birdley,
yeah, no,
like,
Birdley, and then because you don't see the dialogue option either. You just see Ralsei being like, Chris, why do you sound so confused? Why are you shouting like Birdley?
Birdley. God. Fucking, I love it. I'm just like the shipping with that is so fucking funny because just the first of all, I love a return to classic shipping era, like where we're actually fucking just doing things and having fun, and like there's not like the one true pairing that everyone must accept
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Like we're all just having a good time exploring different dynamics. But I also say this because I find this very funny. Again, this is mostly going to make sense to Homestuck people, but like because someone was talking about they're making some tweet about like, well, listen, for me, I don't really ship Cruzy. Like, I don't really think that like I don't see them as romantic, but I also see them as something more than friends. I don't know. I feel like there's something in between. And someone just posted a picture of a diamond from Homestuck because Homestuck literally has like a fictional alien relationship status that's basically queer platonic. And I'm like, fucking, and people are just like, everyone, you're missing something so important here. You're missing a vital piece here. Um,
In Pride Month?
yeah, in Pride Month, yeah. But the anyway, like back to the thing too of just like with
Mm-hmm.
Homestuck, there's a lot of themes in Homestuck too about like in order to achieve like first of all irreversible fate, dealing with the consequences, like the unescapable consequences of your own actions that you cannot prevent. The idea of like there's a bunch of time bullshit in Homestuck, all this stuff. I won't go into a full recap of Homestuck, but like a big thing in there is the idea of, because this is why I've always been wondering if like the concept is that the world kind of has to end, like we have to let it end before we can ever save anyone, because in Homestuck there's a lot of themes like that as well, is the idea of that you kind of have to almost uh like there's a big concept in Homestuck about in order to like achieve your full power you have to die. That's like literally a thing in Homestuck that happens
Mhm.
frequently, is in order for characters to basically ascend to godhood they have to die. um and as along with that, as well as just things again of like this irreversible of like in order for Homestuck to achieve its happy ending, all of these fuck ups had to happen. All of this bullshit that had to happen of everyone just having to fuck everything up had to happen to get where you needed to go. So that's why I'm like, I think there's some correlation in that sort of non-linear, like just again, I love the non. I think DeltaRune's gonna absolutely reach, regardless of the reasons. I think there's absolutely, you're gonna have to replay the game. I think you're just gonna have to.
Well, no, and I
I
think
think
that's the
there's
intention too, because like it's also this is. I remember seeing someone talk about how when they were like they graduated high school, Delta like the first chapter came out. And then
yeah.
they were like, yeah, and then when I was like I was like finishing up college or something, it was like that, or I was almost done with college, chapter 2 came out. And they were like, yeah, now I'm now done with school and I'm like, moving into my own, and now the last 3 chapters are out. And it was a thing this guy was saying where he's like, I don't think a lot of people realize, for the people that like play this later on when the game's all done and everything, but for a lot of people, the time is a part of the experience. Like, it is one of those
Yeah.
things. Like, it's gonna be very different for when the complete edition of Deltarune comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's one of those, like, I think it's a really cool thing as a community to be a part of at that time. You know what I mean? Like, I knew a lot of people that I was there since day one because I played Undertale. But, like, a lot of my Artist Alley friends, a lot of them were like, oh yeah, I only picked it up now that, like, the 4 chapters are out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were able to play
Absolutely.
those 4 chapters in one sitting with knowing little to nothing.
Yeah.
And their experience has been really different compared to, like, you know, the 3 of us, like, and other
Oh,
people
yeah.
out there. Like, and I'm
Again,
not downplaying it. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying too, is I genuinely think people need to let people play the game and experience it.
Yeah,
Like,
because
just
that's an important thing. I think we should talk about that while we're here. Is just
yeah.
some parts of the toxic side of the fandom. You know, like, while we're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the unfortunate reality of people backseat gaming and telling people how to play and all of that, which is just, it really sucks. And I
Yeah.
really wish we stopped doing that. Just ah, because, like, again, as we're all talking about secrets and how to get to certain things, it's like that's for people who want to. If you want to know that stuff, that's what you're gonna go do. You're gonna go search that stuff out, and that's, that's unavoidable. But, like,
But if you
when
want to go
people
in
are
blind, let them go in blind. They don't
yeah,
need
Exactly.
to know
Yeah.
everything. That's the whole point of these games, of both Deltarune and Undertale. If your morbid curiosity, or just your curiosity in general, is piqued, they'll go back and replay it for themselves.
oh
You,
yeah, you
you don't
Mm-hmm.
need to tell everybody every little tiny detail about a game. The only reason we're doing it is because we want to share our experiences and we want to share our theories. If the
yeah,
Yeah.
person who is watching this video or sends it to another person is watching, that's because y'all are interested in what we have
yeah,
to say and what we think. It doesn't necessarily mean that what we think has to be what you think. It just
absolutely not. It
is.
shouldn't.
But also, don't go out of your way to harass somebody in order to
Yeah,
get them on your side about a story that you're fascinated by. The only reason you're fascinated by that same story is because you had that curiosity, is because you want to know more about it, is because you want to have and feel that community. It doesn't mean that they don't when they're playing the game the way that they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
you
just
trying to force that on them is just ruining for them.
yeah.
So
Don't
don't do
it if people want a walkthrough or they want tips or anything like that, they will ask. They'll go look for it. You don't need to assume that onto people, and I think a lot of people need to learn it just with anything, even beyond just Deltarune, Undertale, whatever. People need to
yeah,
learn just to ask. Before you say things, just ask people, "Hey, do you want help? Do you want me to tell you where to go? Do you want me to like what experience do you want to have?" And let them tell you. It just comes down to communication in the end, you know?
yeah,
But
Mm-hmm.
like I'm so glad that I could experience the game blind because there's so much stuff that God, okay, I am sad that no one will ever be. There's only one person in the world who has ever who's got to witness this in person, and no one else ever will for the first time. So I forgot I was going to mention this earlier. I was playing Chapter 4 for the first time,
Uh-huh.
and there's that part where you're in the closet with Chris, and you're trying to get out, and then Chris is like trying to get to the guitar, and Chris is hitting you with a hockey stick, like that whole
hmm
bit, and Susie and Noelle are like talking and stuff. I had a friend who was hanging out with me, like watching me play. They'd already played it, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it. I had so much beef. I can finally talk about it now. I mentioned it earlier. I was like the whole time I was doing it, like, Chris, I swear to fucking God, I'm gonna get you. I swear to God, I'm gonna beat you up. I swear. Like, it was just me beefing with this child as I'm rushing through, and I finally get through that whole section. I'm like, yes, I did it. And my friend was like, if you would have just waited a bit, you would have gotten some really good Susie and Noelle dialogue. You could have just hung over by the end thing. You already got there, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had beef with a child. I had no time for that. Like, this was personal. This was, and no one will ever
be able to see me do it again. Because I'm like, they just weren't even in the room. Susie and Noelle weren't even present. They were talking. I wasn't hearing them. I was focused on kicking Chris's ass. And I'm like, I've never
I'm just
beefed with a
picturing
child
you
so hard in a
JoJo
video
posing
game.
up to this fucking teenager, like...
Yeah, exactly. Fucking
You do.
the stand battle of the century. Fucking soul versus hockey stick. But fucking I wish I had it recorded somewhere because I thought it was really funny. Like again, somehow I'm able to find a secret room that apparently no one else fucking found, even though I thought it really was not too hard to find. But then meanwhile, I miss a bunch of important lore information and lore discussion between Susie and Noelle because I was really pissed off.
No, but see, but that's just it. That's like, again, one of my IRL friends who has like I'm gonna use internet terminology here just because it's easier to explain. They are I'm 30. I'm an adult. All right. I know I like having my little silly hee hee ha ha's, but I have my serious moments as well. My friend is an adult. All right. They got a mortgage. They got their own life. They're doing good. They don't go online. The most I see are like random Instagram updates from their private Instagram of their life. And seeing this friend play through DeltaRune on their Switch, because every now and then they'll just like post stuff about it. It has been so refreshing just checking their updates and finding out their stuff because, again, they are like a true person experiencing the game. Not that other people aren't, you know what I mean? But it's one of those ones where you don't hear them talk about it, kind of a thing. Like, literally, I remember when they found Spampton and they were like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, what's going on here? Like, you know, and then it's been like their little thing that I've been like seeing when they're posting about it. And like, you know, and they even said, they're like, yeah, I haven't been checking my DMs much because when I told, like, my friend, because they don't have a big account, but even their small private account had friends and family telling them spoilers in their Instagram DMs, like, oh, make sure you do this, make sure you go do that, and, like, it's like, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, you miss out on going in blind like that, like, I know I was, like, I not for, well, I was for Chapter 1, but also for Undertale, like, I was lucky enough to catch Undertale when it was still popular, but it wasn't popular. Like, it was still fresh. Like, it had been out.
It wasn't the spoiler popular.
Yeah, it was like realistically, it had been out like maybe a month. And then weirdly enough, my experience is a little different with it because I bought the soundtrack before I bought the game. Because I looked up some of the gameplay stuff from it, and I'm like, this doesn't really look like a game I would like. Like, why does everyone I know tell me I should play this game? And a lot of people talked about the music, and I listened to the music, and weirdly enough, my favorite song was his theme on the thing, with no context. I had no idea what it was. I'm like, I really like this song, his theme. I wonder what it means. And then I'm like, well, I might as well play the game. So I sat down, I played the game, it emotionally devastated me, and I loved it. Yes. And I remember being able to have that going in completely blind. And then I talked to some people, and they're like, yeah, I know Sans is, like, self-aware, and, like, morality is key, but, like, my kid likes the game, so, like, what character should I get? Like, when I've seen, like, normies in the wild, you know, selling merch and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, cool, it's this and that, but then I'll get some people who are like, do you have this really, really niche fan, like, OC thing that people have seen? I'm like, no, bud, sorry. Like,
yeah.
Oh boy.
You know, and it's one of those things of just like, I love seeing the different sides of fandom, even when fandoms can be toxic, but it's all about curating your own
Good
experience. And it sounds shitty, but sometimes you're gonna have to do that. Like, another friend of mine literally told me, was like, I took 2 days off of work, I'm not gonna be online, I'm just gonna play this game, because I know if I'm online, I'm gonna see stuff, and I don't want to see stuff, like, you know, so, like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
I have one more thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
Because it just beats in my mind like a fucking hammer. So, I would love the idea that you are suggesting, Morgan, of the Snowgrave route causing like the shift in the game type of a thing, and it's a really like hard morality type thing. I need to know what these shadow crystals are for, because shamans
I know.
collecting
That's
them
a whole
from
other
us
thing too.
Yeah.
in order to create something I have talked to Michi about this, and I want your thoughts because I am like, okay, these are these shadow crystals. Whenever you look at these like shadow crystals and stuff, you can see things in the darker world. Like you can see like I think whenever you're looking at it in chapter 3, you see the TV in your living room. When you're
Mm-hmm.
in chapter 2, you see something resembling the computer lab, things of that nature. I wonder if when Sham makes this thing, it's one of those prophecy crystal like things. And it's something that adds to the prophecy in order to change the game type of a thing. But
Mm.
maybe it's showcasing the Snowgrave route. Or because I'm like I would feel like we would probably lean more towards it being a weapon of some kind because one of them does come from the Roaring Knight's sword,
Mm-hmm.
or
True.
maybe it's some sort of armor or something. But I think that it might be something bigger than that. Feel like it might be again one of those prophecy like stained glass things or something
Mm-hmm.
like that when they're all pieced together
I think it's
because
very
I
like
don't
I
know.
forgot about this. You reminded me of something too because there is an interesting thing. Um, I believe you can do because I believe you have your shadow crystals in your inventory. When
Mhm.
you're in chapter 4 and you click them to like to use it,
Yeah.
it says that when you look because obviously with the shadow crystals when you look at other things they become their real life counterpart. You see the real world through the
Yeah,
shadows.
yeah, yeah,
When you
yeah.
Yeah.
look at the prophecy remains completely unchanged, unwarped.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's some kind of dialogue in there of like when you look at the words of the prophecy, it remains completely unwarped by the crystal at
That's
all.
interesting.
It's very interesting. Um, so I think there might be something to do with that of just because like I truly don't know what we might be able to make. I think that a
Right.
weapon or armor is a really safe bet because I think um that
Because
could
it's
involve
something that Sham is creating. And
yes.
every time we collect a crystal or every time we come through a secret boss, even Gerson has talked about this, not in reference to the crystal per se, but every time like you get close to a shadow crystal, the prophecies comes up in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just like, okay, this obviously has something to do with the prophecy. I don't know what it has to do with the prophecy. And like with the whole gumball machine thing, I'm just like, what is this? What does this have to do with anything?
Mhm.
I need to know. Why are we collecting these things? I'm
Yes.
so curious. And
Because
like,
I think it comes very much into, I think, whether or not the secret bosses and the shadow crystals by extension have to do with beating the game or how optional they're going to be by the end of everything.
yeah,
Because at the current moment, obviously, like Spamton and Jevil, you can play through the entire game and there's nothing that you don't miss a whole lot by not beating them other than the fact that obviously you get the Easter egg with Spamton in chapter 3.
I
But
need
like
to look something up.
I think that there is. I think that it making a really powerful weapon or armor, I think, is a really safe bet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in that regard, I think that would make a lot of sense. I think there is the potentiality that it could have something to do with like being able to beat the game, like in order to actually, because it could be something like that of like in order to see through into the real world, you need whatever item that Sean creates in order to like see through the darkness into the real world for something, or even vice versa of see through of see the um the dark world from the real world even who knows um what it makes I have no idea. I think it could contribute into helping find the rest of the pieces to the story. There is the really interesting thing of like, for example, you can get the shadow crystals while doing a good route, so to speak.
Yes.
You can do that in the game, and I do feel like they have some importance though too, because in the title screen of the game, when you open DeltaRune, it shows you how many shadow crystals you collected in various runs, through
Yes.
various like where like which run you've collected how many in and in what chapter. They tell you that specifically. So I do think they're going to have some kind of importance, like to the plot itself.
Mhm.
Um, whether or not it's going to require you doing like Snowgrave or something, for example, I think that's a different thing because you can get it without doing Snowgrave. So I have to believe it
Right.
doesn't. Um,
But
so I'm like,
uh, I'm just wondering because if the theory of this being like an extra key to the prophecy type of a thing, whether it does affect the prophecy or not, it could not, who knows? But like it, I don't know. Maybe it is the final piece to the prophecy that Susie fucking destroyed, so we don't ever get to see it unless we see the shadow crystals.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Um, but even though it's going to play out regardless, they keep saying that. Or perhaps it is a added addition to the prophecy of like, or you could do this horrible thing in order to save these people type of a thing.
yeah,
I don't know. Um, it is interesting to me though that in Snowgrave, regardless, because in in a normal route you can completely miss it by not fighting Spamton at all. In Snowgrave, you collect a shadow crystal whether you like it or not, because you cannot go through chapter two during Snowgrave without fighting Spamton
yeah.
Neo.
And I have a lot of opinions too on how that even runs because
Hmm.
you get obviously with the Roaring Knight, I believe it's a little bit different. Like that's a bit of a change to the pattern here. But like
Yeah.
with Spamton and Jedwell, you get two different items depending on how you defeat them. You
Yes.
get either like, you get one or the other, whether you choose to do it through a merciful route, through acting, or you do it through purely hitting them. When you do Snowgrave, you are forced to fight Spamton. You cannot act anymore. So
No.
you basically are forced to get one specific item and to fight him in one specific way. And I feel like that has to have some kind of meaning. That has to have some
Yeah.
sort of purpose for why that happens the way that it does. Um, for that change of order. And perhaps it might be innocuous. Perhaps it might just end up happening later in terms of uh like just flavor text and things like that. Um, but at the same time, I think it's interesting. I think that the shadow crystals definitely have something. They have something to do
Yeah.
with something,
It's
and it
yeah.
might be a thing. Yeah, it might be in going into the fact that we probably are going to have to replay the game, or the game's going to almost push us into doing that. I do think that it's going to be a thing of like you're going to reach a point either at the end or before the end where it's like, all right, in order to progress, you're going to need an item. Like you have to cut through this door, but none of your items are going to work. You're going to need some special shadow knife to do it or something like that. Um,
I just thought of
who
something.
knows?
I just thought
Yeah.
of something while we're talking about this. It's going back to Undertale, so sorry, but it's I just connected the dots with something. Technically, if you do a neutral run, you're not fighting Asriel. That is an ending. I remember someone I talked
Mm-hmm.
to played a version of Undertale where even though Flowey's like, oh, maybe go back and save someone, no. The friend that I talked to never did it. That was their thing. That was how they ended Undertale. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if in a way it's keeping to the it's still technically keeping to the there is one ending, but I wonder if there'll be a thing after we get one normal ending to get like a thing of dialogue or a thing where it's like suddenly like if we have all the crystals now or something, it's like, oh, here's new game plus or something like that. Like it would actually be called something
True.
different. And then to do that, you would then get the other ending. The reason why I say that is
True.
because like I've also played Nier Automata. That game is notorious for having a million fucking endings as like a gag, like there's literally an ending where if you're a robot and you eat a fish, you die. And then there's endings though to get the quote unquote true ending of Nier Automata, literally you have to beat the game in its entirety like 3 different times to get certain things to even be unlocked. And you are
Yeah.
starting from the beginning, knowing everything you know, but the characters in the game don't know. Which the reason why I say that is because I think that would parallel Flowey's whole reset.
Yeah.
I just that was
Mm-hmm.
something I literally just thought of right now, and I'm like, wait a minute, what if? In a way, both are true.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. God, it's it's interesting. I'm like, I fucking I don't know, because I think there's a lot of merit to the theory of it might be something almost more meta. Because again, the crystals do appear on our screen. They clearly have enough importance where we need to keep track of them and where and like what
Yeah,
chapters we found them in. We've been literally given a convenient tool to figure out where we missed them and like what we might be missing.
Right.
what's with the
So I'm like,
eggs?
what's with the fucking eggs? I don't know. Eggs.
See, I don't think that the eggs really have significance to the story per se.
Okay, then why do you make Chris eat moss?
Okay, because they like it.
Because they don't eat moss.
Because they
That's
like
a
eating.
fulfillment for them. That's a
They
sad
actually
story
feel
for what we
fulfillment.
do to them.
That's a Chris choice, is what you're saying, is the moss.
Yes. They like eating moss. It's literally said in the game. They like eating moss. I don't know why, but I'm happy for them. That's why I let them eat the moss.
Let my guy eat their moss. God damn it.
Yes. But no, I mean, I don't know if the eggs are more so for achievement type thing of like, oh, you're skilled at finding secrets type of a thing, or if it does have any relevance to the thing. Because like I've seen theory videos where it's kind of both of like, oh yeah, you get more context. You could get more context to a thing, perhaps, if you collect all the eggs, because it's like a forgotten man or whatnot. Who knows? Maybe that's Gaster giving
That
us some eggs,
that is a
which would be
funny theory.
interesting.
I did see because I watched that Woody theory video and I did laugh my ass
Mhm.
off at it, and
Oh
it brought
god.
me down a rabbit hole of other weird theories. And there was one I saw. Oh, I hope I can find it. It was a small video, but they were talking about like little theories too. And one
I
of
don't
their
even know
favorite
what
things was
The Woody theory is. I've just heard
it's
about it. I'm like, oh, okay.
it. I'll get into it in a minute because it's pretty. I don't think it's real. I think it was a gag. I've seen some people be like, "It's serious." I'm like, no, it's funny.
Mm.
I think it's funny, but I've seen people be like, dude, what if you're collecting eggs for Gaster to make egg salad? And I was like,
That would be fucking hilarious.
I
I
think that'd
would
be kind of
salute that
great. I
man.
just
I'd be like,
let
good job.
I had to make my egg salad recipe for the fair.
He needed
Like
his pippus.
his pipis.
His piss.
His piss? What? I call him Pepis. What do you guys call him?
I meant pippus. I was
Piss
having
piss?
an aneurysm. It's fine. Pippus. Pippus.
Well,
Gaster needed his
I
pippus.
guess to end off, unless you guys still want to go. If you guys don't want to go right ahead. I'm all for it. I
I
have
don't
some.
know. I've just kind of been going off of if I remember shit and whatnot.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a couple of silly like innocent theories I saw that I want to write down so I don't forget is one that I like personally is a bunch of people are like, oh, Chris wears a binder, which is why they have the chest plate.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Like I've seen that. I've seen because obviously we know Chris keeps the knife in their pocket. A lot of people theorize that. I also think that Rousey's the horns that they had when they were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that. I've seen the thing with Susie too, where like maybe instead of having like a collar, a stud in her pocket, because we don't know what Susie keeps on him. You know what I mean? Like all we really know about Susie. Well, we know a lot about Susie, but like I've seen people be like, oh, what if she has like a stud in her pocket or something, and it's one of those like I want to do that kind of a thing, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other like I don't know, small, silly, stupid ones, or do we want to just end here?
I'm trying to think if I've seen any small, silly, stupid ones. I've not really a stupid one. I've seen
Well,
some
I don't
people
mean
theorize.
stupid. I shouldn't say. I meant like silly.
I've
but
seen
or
some
whatever.
people theorize based on some art and like official stuff that's been made that the person behind the tree is a papyrus.
Really?
Because there's
Really?
in Undertale, there's he has an egg during his whole little dating sim section, that kind of a thing.
I forgot about the
Um,
stupid egg. Oh my god, you're right.
and there's an art of I found this the other day. There's an art from Undertale of Papyrus hiding behind a tree that has very similar colors to the one that we find in
That's
DeltaRune.
true.
So it could be Papyrus just handing you a little egg.
I mean, that's cool, but also Papyrus is in all the Dark Worlds there.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who
Maybe he's
knows?
just
Honestly,
sneaking around, trustling his bones.
Trestle and his bones.
Trustling his bones.
Bones.
Oh, I was so upset. I was so devastated when I went back to the lake to go find the fucking
Onion
to go find
Sand.
Onion Chan so he could finally tell me the things I've been
I
waiting to hear.
Wait,
And then
know.
he didn't show up.
He doesn't show up?
No,
No!
not in chapter 4. Well, that's what I was saying is that Onion San in chapter 2 and chapter 1 are like,
I
well,
didn't
I
even.
think chapter 1 because I don't. Do they? No, they do come back in chapter 2. So in chapter 2,
They
they're like,
do.
"Hey,
Yeah, I'll
I've
talk to
been
you
hearing,
tomorrow. Yeah.
I've been hearing music on the other side of the lake or
I'm gonna
in the
go
lake. I'm
investigate.
going to go investigate. So
I'll
come back
let you know what I
tomorrow and I'll
find.
see. I'll talk to you." And then they never come back. But Susie in chapter 4, when you're sitting with her at that lake where you meet Onion Sand doesn't show up, but Susie says, "Hey, do you hear that music coming from across the lake?" That's what we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Michi?
Oh, no,
It's so
yeah, I'm
exciting.
listening.
No.
No, I was just listening.
I'm
Because
so
I know,
mad
I was
I
thinking,
caught
because I was thinking about
marks.
it. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about it, because, yeah, my playthrough person they didn't even go to the lake, so I didn't even think about it.
Oh yeah, did you ever
Yeah.
even talk about to tell Mitchie what the weird ass bird says? Fucking
Oh, yeah, you never told me what the bird said. What's the bird say? Weird neck bird man.
the weird bird that shows up at the library and stuff, and how disturbing it gets in
Oh,
chapter
I
4.
forgot. Hold on. Bird
Listens to
man
paper flipping noise. Like,
library DeltaRune. More like keys on the keyboard. What does he say?
I wonder if people can hear the lawn work that's going on in the background. I am boiling in my room right now. I had to close all my windows and turn everything off for this, and
I'm good.
I just hear in the background. I hear it. I hear the leaf blowers of my
Oh, there's a really
nightmares.
sad thing I found out about that if you don't go to the dark world like at the end of like whatever at whatever point in chapter 4 if you don't go to the dark world, which makes obviously because if you go, Susie's like, "Oh shit, let me go grab Tenna," you know? And like that whole thing. If you don't do that and you during while it's raining, you go back up to your house without having took it like without Susie having taken Tenna to the dark world, you find Tenna out in a box on the side of the road while it's raining.
No, that's so
Yeah.
sad.
I think we still can take him back at that point. I don't think he's like lost forever, but the implication being that if you don't take him to a dark world, if you just forget, he's just abandoned
Well,
forever.
I know Ken told me, you can give, you can give
You can give him to
Tenna
Metaton.
to Hapstabluk, right?
Yes, to
Mhm.
Metaton.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
very
that was very sweet.
so the guy it's weird because in the previous chapters, so you don't ever really get to explore the overworld in
Mm-hmm.
chapter 3. So this would be in chapter 4.
Yeah,
In
yeah. You're
the
pretty much
two
you're playing all the mini games in chapter 3. Like,
in the first two chapters, the Birdman is like, so the first chapter he's downstairs blocking the way to go upstairs, and the bird guy is like, "Oh, I love reading, especially the books upstairs." And that's the end of his dialogue in chapter 1, and you can't go past him. So it's like, "Okay, cool. Thanks. I would love
Yeah,
to
he's
go up there and
preventing you
read
from
them."
lore.
yeah, I
Right.
want to go up there, buddy. My guy.
Right.
Like,
In chapter 2, you go upstairs, he's there, and he says the same thing. But at that point, you can finally read the first bookshelf, and it's basically talking about like how to care for humans and how Toriel had um, checked this book out many times before. You can see it in like the stamp library stamp thing.
yeah.
Um, for the checkout and stuff, and it's really cute, and you can open the this is one of the things that Chris prevents us from doing. You can try to open the book, and it says that you see like a bunch of humans, it makes you uncomfortable, so you close the book immediately, type of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and put it back on the shelf. So Chris refuses to think about other humans, which is very interesting. um but that could be for a number of reasons. But then chapter 4, the Birdman goes back a few more bookshelves, so you can read all like the first 3 bookshelves. And basically the other 2 talk about how the um it's basically like monster funeral type stuff that they turn to dust. And typically monsters spread ashes over an item in order to bury that item, an item that they really loved during their life. They spread their ashes over it to bury it, and that's kind of what they do in order to do a funeral type thing.
Yeah.
But when you go to talk to the guy, he starts the sentence as if he was just saying the regular sentence that he does is I love reading, especially the books upstairs, but he stops in the middle of it and says, I love reading, especially wait. And then he starts freaking out. And that's the end of that sentence.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there's no context. There's no context on why. So I'm wondering if it's like,
This is a horrible time to look down at the group chat and see that picture of
oh yeah,
Tenna
probably.
and Queen that Morgan sent. I'm like listening to it. My eyes just okay. I know you guys can't see this, but I have my computer set up. I have two monitors up that are my main monitor, which we're recording this on. I have a secondary monitor for work stuff, and then I have my tablet, which I have the Discord in, so like I can make sure like just make sure we're okay, make sure like none of the calls drop or anything like that. So my eyes just haphazardly looked down and I just see that and I'm like, they really are passing Tenna around like a blunt at a party. And Morgan, that was great.
It's really funny. It's just none of the shipping has happened until this moment. And again, I'm thinking about Toby Fox making vague posts about how he didn't think that Tenet was going to be popular.
Yeah, I thought that was so sad. No. He was like so sad. He was like, I hope people like Tenna. I really do. I'm really worried. And then it was like the next day, he's like, I'm happy my boy is safe or something like that. It was something like along those lines of he was so worried people weren't gonna like him. And I'm like, how? He's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's a beautiful,
Which,
beautiful creature.
going back on the on
No,
the
go ahead.
thing,
Yeah.
it's interesting too because that Birdman is also a part of like the Gaster followers in Undertale.
Yeah, he's one of the gray people.
Um,
Excuse me.
yeah, which is also interesting because one of the people that is constantly in a car is also one of those people, but nothing is weird about
Oh,
them.
right.
So
He's the distressed egg guy, right? Like
yeah,
you find in Hotlands.
yeah. So he's also one of those, but it's weird. I don't know.
Hold on. We have to pause real quick. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay. But yeah, so the Gaster followers, he was one of them. The Birdman was one of them. And I'm going back to see what the dialogue was for the Gaster followers in Undertale, which seems like it could be prevalent to Deltarune too, depending on where this fucking story goes. But basically it says they offer cryptic hints about Gaster's fate, suggesting he fell into his creation, his experiments went wrong,
Yeah.
or that he was shattered across space and time. So if these are parallel universes instead of just parallel stories, Gaster could very much be a part of this since he was a huge part of Undertale too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But it's just something to think about.
And
And we'll leave off on that, I guess.
And
Unless
waka waka.
anybody has anything else they'd like to share.
Comment down below and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. No, I'm kidding. But I will have everybody's info in the description box below. I'm gonna have Morgan's and Ken's info above mine if you want to follow them on their places. But
I'm
yeah,
doing art fight.
another good thing. Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm doing art fight. Morgan's doing art fight. Ken's alive.
I have characters on there if anybody wants to attack me, but don't expect me to attack you.
Life is life in right now.
Man.
Yeah, life is
Busy
life in right
man.
now. But good news of the matter is, pretty simply put, we have been confirmed that we're getting the next chapter next year. Like,
Yep. Early next
Yeehaw.
year.
early next year, which tells me we're probably also, we might be able to get the second chapter at the end of that year as well, and then with how things are going, because I know it was another thing people were complaining about was the whole, like, oh, well, it was taking so long. I'm like, y'all, now, I hate to be this guy. Now that it is worth money, they're going to be able to put more time and energy into it, because a lot of them were doing this in their own time.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
like,
the team was also not what it is now.
yeah,
Like, it
exactly. Like,
definitely started as like very small. I think chapter 1 and part of chapter 2 was made just by Toby and Timmy. It could be by others as well. I'm not quite sure. I
that's
guess
what
you
I
could see
heard.
who,
It was,
but
yeah.
most of the stuff was just created by Timmy and Toby.
Mm-hmm.
So very much a passion project
Yeah.
at
Yeah, so
the
and
start
with
of
that
it.
now, that's why I'm also sitting here like it just makes the most sense. I don't think we're gonna be as long between things. We've already been confirmed that. So get ready for another one of these videos a year from now when the
Yeah.
next chapter comes out. But thank you guys for listening and watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you guys next time. Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye.